Hey everybody, it's Monday, the 29th of January, 2018. You're listening to the Saladcast. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Vergis.
Yeah.
And Robert Kemp.
Swan Hunter.
Okay. That's not that cool a name.
I hunt swans.
I wonder if that's where it came from, though. Because surely that... It's like not... When you have a name that's your job, the classic old way of doing things,
Yeah.
Swan Hunter can't really be a job because you'd only be supplying like the royal family. I mean, it technically could be a job, but it'd be a very small family tree because there's only like one person's job.
The Royal Swan Hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realize Swan was a name, though.
Swan. Oh, Swan's definitely a name. Isn't that like, aren't there
there?
scientists called Swan, isn't there?
You get it with a double N as well. If you want.
Double N, isn't it?
I've heard of it. Well, as a surname, I might have accepted it. But as a first name?
Oh, was that the guy's... So it was not Swan
full
Hunter.
name was Swan Hunter.
Oh, okay.
You can put whatever names you want anywhere, especially nowadays. You can be called real dumb shit if you want.
Yeah, but this isn't nowadays. This is like past times when they made chips.
Yeah, but they also had dumb names then. They just didn't like. It was like they only seem dumb now.
Was that
Like they actually weren't dumb at the time. Like that was a perfectly ordinary name.
Swan?
Possibly.
Was he
Hunter?
ugly as a small child, and so they called him Swan, hoping he would blossom into a beautiful creature of the lake.
And the rivers. Don't forget the rivers.
Don't forget the rivers. Conserve your rivers.
Not the sea, though. You don't get marine swans, do you?
That's true.
As far as I know. Like bigger, more seaworthy swans.
Oh, a bigger swan. I like the idea of that.
Stand up to ocean waves.
Wodge. It's actually just what pedalos were originally modelled on until the Queen ate them all.
Ah, because of the Swan Hunter.
Because of the Swan Hunter, yeah.
Just hunted all the big ones, and now there's only small ones.
You should probably say that Swan Hunter built the Esk, or was the designer of the Esk or something, to carry on with our ship thing. We didn't just randomly come across Swan Hunter. It's not like bonus.
Yes, we literally did come across it randomly. We typed in like random ship into Wolfram Alpha, I presume.
You're revealing all our secrets. You're not meant to do that until after the season.
Oh, really? We've done that for years, haven't we?
Yeah, but we always say we're not meant to.
We've got to find
It's
something.
like you're not meant to know what our keyword means until we say it at some point, I guess.
You're going to if we talk about it.
Yeah, my fault. I just liked Swan Hunter. It's cool.
So how's it going on a weekday?
On a weekday?
Yeah.
Late.
Not really. It's about the normal time you start from, guys.
We're about a day
8,
late.
mate. 8.
That's true.
Yeah. What have you been up to? You've been busy on a Saturday.
Yeah, boy. I was doing a charity quiz for cancer research.
Sweet.
Our team came second out of a room of about 16.
Second out of 16?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I don't know how, because I basically contributed nothing. The questions were so far out of my limited time zone of understanding. It's like they're all about stuff that happened in like the 60s, and there was, for once, in one of these things, a music round, and I was like, oh hell yeah, this is my time to shine. And then it was all like rock and roll from the 50s.
Nice. Bill Haley in his comments. Buddy Holly.
I can't do any of this.
Did you have some slightly older people on your team who could sort all that stuff out then?
No, we just guessed incredibly well.
Oh, right, nice.
Like that round had a theme conveniently, and it was about numbers. So it was like, what's the number associated with this song? And like some of them were in titles, and some of them were band names.
So you could kind of
fudge it out
to figure out the pattern.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. It's kind of handy.
The only sort of question I got, and that was probably one of the few I got in the entire evening, was that once we'd identified the track, and it's like, oh, it's that when it gets going, and it's like, oh, right, that's Pennsylvania 65000, isn't it? And they're like, oh yeah, that's the number.
6500. Yeah. I don't even know that. Is that some song about a train?
I have no idea actually. It's like the one time when the orchestra actually play it. Apparently, everyone has to actually just say Pennsylvania 65000 in that voice. Yeah,
In that specific voice.
How
does the conductor? I guess just mouth it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, he's not like very quickly writing the letters with
the baton.
Well, it's probably just written on the sheet music as an extra. One of the remarks
they just
suddenly
suddenly replace the notes with like just words in the middle of the stave. That's what I do.
I'm sure it's above the line.
No,
because probably the music does continue slightly for some people. Some part of the orchestra probably continues to play under that.
Oh, probably. Yeah. It's probably a rest.
There's always a rest somewhere.
Remember the rests. Never forget. Have a rest. 16 bars. Good luck counting.
So have they researched cancer now? Is it all research?
Yes, it's done. We're all screwed.
Unlocked. Yeah. Damn it. Oh dear.
Yeah, so that was alright. I was doing that Saturday. And, weekend before that was Winter Beer Fest in Cambridge.
Oh,
Always
sweet.
a classic. Continuing my trend of picking terrible beers.
Well, you got to pick the worst ones because how are you supposed to know? You just pick them at random.
But it very much balances things out. I do have a tendency to pick the utter poopers, so then I can have a sip of someone else's and be like, oh my gosh. It's like the problem is that I seem to buy the entire half pint of palate cleanser.
Right, ready for the actual sip of actually nice beer.
Something really good. Yeah.
Well, you just mirror someone else's choices. That might be the best tactic next time.
Well, that was where we ended up. To be honest, we landed on one. We found I think it was a Dutch beer called Frontal Rhodesian.
Oh.
And it was gorgeous. Strong, but gorgeous.
Where's it from? Oh, from Dutch. Obviously, it was Dutch. I was wondering.
I mean, actually, there's just a guy in Somerset who's Dutch, and then it's a Dutch beer. No, I think it's Dutch. I don't know. I've got no idea. It was written at the time. I think it was done.
Have they always done a winter one? Or I've never been to a winter one.
Yeah, they don't do it in the open. They sort of steal one of the university union buildings or something.
Oh, cool.
And so it's a much smaller affair, but still pretty good.
Nice.
Get your beers in. I still haven't quite found anything as bad as the stubble burner, so there is that. Despite picking terrible beers.
Was that what it was actually called, or was that what you
The
christened
stubble
it?
burner is the worst beer I've ever had.
Wow. Quite an honour.
Yeah. It did taste like a gone-off apple.
Ooh.
Like, you know how you get a particularly foul cider? Sometimes, like the strongest, driest, nastiest blackthorn-like cider,
right?
But real vinegary, sort of bitter, horrible mess. But this was a beer, and it still kind of tasted like it had that in it. And it's like, oh, this is horrible.
So, do you know how to avoid that in future, or do you know what it was about that?
I think it's just I think you described that as just extremely bitter on like tasting notes. So basically, I tend to avoid most things that say it's a bitter beer, like because it's like most beers have it, bitter by nature. So if it's been described as a bitter beer,
extra bitter, that's probably not good.
That's probably it's probably bad.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Can't really go wrong with anything if it describes itself as ruby, then you're all right. But
you go for the rubies.
Oh, I love a ruby. Anything that describes it, they're quite rare. So anything that describes itself as a ruby ale it tends to be delicious. that sort of nice middle ground between everything. It's the perfect, like you're a little bit velvety, but a little bit fruity, but not quite hoppy madness. And a slightly darker color. Oh, it's perfect. It's right in the middle of beer.
Central beerdom.
Central beer, yeah. All beer congeals into this.
Sounds horrible. Congealed lump of ruby beer.
That's where real rubies come from. You leave a ruby beer out for long enough.
You get a ruby.
You get an actual ruby, yeah. That's why it's so valuable.
Because you've missed out on all this delicious ruby beer in order to have a ruby. It doesn't seem worth it.
It's a great deal of emergency alcoholism in a single ruby. For all your pirating needs.
Oh,
that's what I was doing. How about yourself? Why couldn't you do the podcast yesterday? What happened?
yesterday, I was just doing some board gaming.
Board gaming?
Yeah, and we made a roast for people and stuff, and had a general Sunday.
A general
Sunday chill.
Sunday.
So that was good. Had people over. We played some kind of haunted house game thing, and then we played some Secret Hitler.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. A bit of Cards Against Humanity, British edition.
Oh, I haven't played that in so long.
I know.
Good. That's the trick.
Yeah,
that is the trick.
We might need to get more expansions just to confuse it.
Have you even played all of the cards in all of those expansions you've got though?
I don't know. I bet we have.
There's like Jimmy Savile cards in it now. It's like,
yeah, in the British one, yeah, I think there kind of always was. And
there always was. Oh, okay.
And Ed Balls.
Oh yeah, Ed Balls.
Ed Balls.
There's a section in the rules about Ed Balls.
Yeah, Ed Balls. Ed Balls.
Ed Balls.
That's all you need to know.
Exactly.
He tweeted it himself. Yeah. Well, what was that good?
Yeah, what do you do with your extra day?
Played a bunch of the game that I'm going to talk about on the podcast.
Okay.
Fairly obviously.
Oh, spoiler alert. Okay. Well, let's
you weren't fretting over Kettlegate still.
No, I said wait 6 months for that kettle to start you mad. Then we can talk about kettle.
Oh, I went to see The Post. Actually, that was.
You did?
Yeah.
Is it any good?
It is okay.
Good to know.
It is 100% a movie.
Yeah. I had that feeling recently. I watched the last Spielberg film with Tom Hanks in Bridge of Spies. It is
right. Yeah.
Okay. It is definitely 100% a movie for sure.
It's not bad. It's an incredibly well made thing. It's just that it's actually the unfortunate part of it is that everything is laid out right at the start, and so there's no real surprises. There's no real
right.
It's just as it turns out, it's not actually that interesting a story.
What did they explain? What everything up front about what happened and stuff?
Well, kinda.
You
kind of know what's going. Yeah, you kind of know what's going on from if you've seen the trailers and knew what the film was about. You kind of know what it's about and where it goes and what happens.
Well,
and that's fine. I want to know about the journey,
thing,
but
right?
but the journey isn't actually all that interesting, unfortunately. But it is well made.
Okay, I probably skip it at the cinema then. Maybe.
Yeah.
Watch it on TV. Watch it on Netflix when it comes out.
Yeah, the inevitable Netflix.
I saw Coco. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I recommend that. Actually, it's actually really quite good. One of the better Pixar's of recent times, I would say.
Long for a Pixar film as well.
It didn't
over
feel
2 hours
long.
or something.
Yeah, it didn't feel long though. I think it earned its length for sure. Yeah, definitely recommend it. Go see it, and it's got no explicit Grim Fandango references in it, but definitely a lot of influence there.
Well, any sort of Mexican skeleton-based thing is going to be.
Well, it wasn't just
similar.
that, because it's like it also like it was Mexican Day of the Dead with the calaveras stuff, but it also had like Art Deco theme style in the and noir style, which is basically what Grim Fandango did like 20 years ago or however long it was. Yeah, nearly. Jeez.
Okay. It's interesting because I didn't get the Art Deco from the trailers. So
yeah, that's definitely in there once you get to the like Land of the Dead style thing. Yeah, there's quite a few similarities, and they're like there's a bureaucracy and stuff in the Land of the Dead, which is kind of similar to the Department of Death.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, it's got some of that stuff going on, but
intriguing.
Not too
We'll probably
much.
do my usual ploy with weirdly with like animation and stuff like that. Noam and I always want to watch that at home.
Oh right,
which is odd. Like, so that's why we end up with quite a lot of like Pixar films on the shelf. Or
sure,
like we tend not to get to the cinema to see those for some reason. We end up seeing them at.
Well, that'd be a good Blu-ray. For sure.
Although I think that might be because the probability of having an annoying child in the cinema with you is very high.
I suppose. I think I was just lucky, I guess, with that.
Yeah. Or go see it in IMAX where everybody is deafened.
IMAX. Is that what it's all about? Like how loud it is on the size of the screen?
The screen is bigger and it's a lot louder. So and in fairness, it does work because you can't hear so many assholes.
Yep, that's true. Drown them out.
It functions. IMAX. It's a working thing.
One thing I will say though is that given it's about music, there aren't actually that many songs in it, but the
Coco.
ones there are good. Yeah, Coco. Yeah,
it's about music. I didn't
yeah, it's like a kid who's it's inspired to be a musician, but his family is like band music.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, a lot of his family's dead, but I mean that's true of anyone.
One could argue that most of your family.
Exactly. Well, there you go.
All right, that's the film minute. Oh, Fantastic Beasts is good as well. That's worth a watch.
Really?
Yeah, we've got to watch that on Blu-ray this weekend as well.
What, the Harry Potter thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never
I
seen
liked
that.
it. I thought it was good.
Oh, really? Oh, should give that a try, maybe. I hadn't heard good things about it, so I kind of avoided it. But
Yeah, I had heard nothing but good things. But
interesting.
yeah, our sources may differ.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I quite like it. It's not the same as Harry Potter.
Well, you don't want it to be the same.
No, it's a different feeling thing for sure. But
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to see the like weird like American version of Harry Potter. And New York and stuff.
Like
Sounds kind of
50s
cool.
New York as well.
Nice.
It's fun. I got some house grouse too.
Go for the house grouse.
Very quickly. I think we mentioned this before, actually, in the classic way that modern house design is both equally great and terrible.
I don't know if that's equal.
Mostly terrible in Zach's eyes.
Mostly terrible. Okay, fine.
Not necessarily.
It's more like equally terrible and a building.
What? What does that mean?
It's like the movie argument. It's 100% a building.
100% a building, but some parts of it are terrible.
We've broken another bloody window hinge this week. Like that's 3 of them we've managed to break in the last year.
What are you doing? Trying to open them or something?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Like a window.
Well, this one was in the kitchen as well, so it was like, oh god, food is making sputtery stuff that's filling the air, and our fire alarms don't like food, as it turns out.
And as talking of things that are terrible,
fire alarms.
Well, and your extraction fan could over the cooker, which doesn't sufficiently extract.
No, it needs to be 4 times as powerful.
Even though it's incredibly loud.
Yeah.
It's incredibly loud and doesn't do very much work.
Rubbish. Yeah. So naturally you go, oh god, open the windows. We need to make this incredibly loud noise stop. Yeah, and then it's the hinge snapped. So it's one of the arms between the things. It's got like a little runner that's supposed to be in one piece to keep the metal bits exactly where they're supposed to be. And in all three cases, this little plastic connector has split in half. So the pieces don't move exactly with the right alignment, and so the window goes off kilter, and then you can't really close it properly unless you've got a tall person like Zach to prop it up from the outside of the house while you close it.
Convenient.
Yeah. So windows, they suck. Just don't make them out of plastic bits.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like quite the right. But to be fair, like the windows are like a dodgy point in old buildings as well.
Dan couldn't finish that sentence.
That just faded out.
Just disappears into obscurity. Window.
Where did I go?
Oh, there he goes. He's coming back gradually.
Oh, okay. I haven't touched anything or done anything.
I think we shut the window on him. That's what we did.
Okay. Just say windows can be dodgy in old buildings just as much. They're just like a general dodgy point.
I guess, but there's something about old hinges where they are just a hinge, right?
That's true. They're a bit simpler.
They're not as complicated. There's not as obvious a design flaw in an old hinge, whereas this one is just like the plastic you have used is too weak. You should have just used a metal bit. The rest of that bloody hinge construction is metal. Why make that bit out of plastic?
We recently cleaned all the windows in our house by literally just disassembling them. Like, you can just take the entire part that opens off real easily, all of them. So, like, that was why my bedroom was real cold for a week. It was just like, we took all of the windows off. And then cleaned them on the ground where it's really easy to clean them, and, like, painted them and everything, and then put them back up.
Could this have not been done during a warmer season?
Well, I mean, it wasn't that cold.
Wow.
And also we have an actual, heater now. A more reliable heat source. You can turn on and off whenever you want. Not by igniting a fuel.
Modern technology.
Technically by igniting a fuel, I guess.
It's always igniting a fuel. It's just on-demand ignition.
Still sucks. The main thing that sucks about it is the water pressure is terrible. Like, before, when we had a hot water tank and a cold water tank,
yeah,
the cold water was always incredibly ridiculously high pressured, like way more than the hot water. But the hot water was like well pressured as well. And now they both suck. And if you turn more than one tap on anywhere in the house, they all become terrible.
See, we had that here for a bit until we realised the incredibly obvious mistake that we hadn't actually opened the
valve,
the stop. What's it called? The stop tap or something?
Right.
Stopcock. That's it. We just haven't opened that all the way. It's only a shitty amount of water was getting
in. Yeah, that's a bit of a mistake if you don't have the actual main valve to the house open.
Properly opened, yeah. And it was like, oh, this is way better.
Maybe I didn't check that at home. Because, I mean, I guess we haven't had any reason to turn the water off since they installed that boiler. So, like, maybe they didn't reopen it fully when they left.
So, does your water pressure thing work like ours then? Where, like, ours was weird. Like, it wasn't... You know how there's that old house thing where if someone flushes the loo, right? Where it cuts all the cold water out, so someone in the shower suddenly gets a run of nothing but hot.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not how it worked for us.
Well, no, because that's not how. That was because of the way it used to have hot and cold tanks and stuff, and they flow into each other.
Yeah, now it's just like someone. If I wanted to go for a pee while Gnome was in the shower, there would just be a moment where Gnome would just have no water.
Yeah,
just be standing there going, "What do I do now?"
I think our shower gets away with it because it's an electric one, so it's like it internally pressurizes the water as well. It's not relying just on the actual pressure of the.
To some extent, I guess. Yeah, can't have a massive capacity to deal with that.
No. But yeah, it's very noticeable if you just flush the toilet and you want to wash your hands. Much lower amounts of water comes out of the tap until the toilet refills, and then suddenly it goes whoosh, which doesn't really help.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of bad. You need one of those Japanese toilets where the that we had some places in Japan where the wash the hand basin is actually the top of the cistern.
No,
so as the water's going into the cistern, it's actually going through a sink first, so you can wash your hands in there. You're reusing water, man.
Yes, well, all toilet. Technically, like all toilet tanks should be filled with rainwater because that would be the easiest way to deal with that.
Yes.
But no, it's too much effort to separate drinking and non-drinking water.
Are you saying that all toilets should be water butt based?
Yeah, clearly.
They should be butt based.
Everything should be butt based.
Okay.
Toilets are already like 50% butt based.
Why not do the whole my toilet, fully butt-based toilets. All my cons.
If we made the toilet out of leather, it would be like cow butt based as well. What is the maximum percentage of butt basedness that a toilet could be?
Well, you'd have to make it butt shaped, obviously.
Yeah. You'd have to make it so you don't need your hand to flush it.
It's got a butt button.
Yeah. Perhaps it has to be next to the loo. So when you're done, you just sort of sit on this other button.
Just to transfer over for a second, just to push the button.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a good idea.
No, that doesn't seem good.
Butt button. Or is it just tied to the the weight of you releasing off the seat?
I'm sure that's
You press it down as you sit down, and then when you get up, it flushes. Done.
I'm sure that's how someone has already done that. I'm sure that's already a thing.
Mm.
In Japan, it's got to be a thing, right?
Yeah, probably in Japan.
Yeah, but that'd be electronics in Japan, though.
Yeah, but it will still be butt based. It will still be detecting the weight.
But the electronics would be reducing our percentage of nothing but butt.
You can't. Even if you're talking about making this leather toilet for the cow man, the entire structure of the toilet is not going to be able to be made of leather.
There's
that
other
materials in there, so that's just you're still going to be reduced percentage of butt.
I don't know. Couldn't you make like a leather weave or something that's super strong?
I don't want to use this toilet. It sounds horrible.
Like a wicker leather. Or something.
A wicker leather?
Stronger. Well, like a wicker basket is like weirdly strong, right? So kind of just make leather like that. Like if you make your weave.
It doesn't seem watertight though.
No.
You don't have your inner layers.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd have your inner layers like flat leather. It'd be fine. But
I'm not saying
flat
on
leather is
this.
sufficiently
I'm not
flat.
saying on this toilet.
That's why it's enamel. So it's incredibly flat, or not actually enamel.
I'll admit there might need to be some amount of glaze or something on this leather, but that's a very small percentage.
I think you could mount that on the leather. I think that's the problem. Leather is too flexible, even in its furthest form.
I've got my beer mug that's made of leather, right?
Yeah, but that's pretty soft.
But watertight.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that you'd want a huge amount of other stuff as well as water in there.
Other stuff. Depends how corrosive your pee is. Or how bad toilet duck is on leather. Actually, that's probably the worst thing.
Any cleaning fluids would probably just fuck that leather up real good.
Okay, Robco announces the new butt-based, 100% butt-based
toilets. Yeah.
That doesn't fit the branding scheme, though.
I am not going to say what the obvious Robco name would be.
No. That's a different product altogether.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got a whole separate department for that.
Ugh. Well, I'm sure you'll sell a buttload of them.
Hey. What a good way to finish this segment.
News! What's
Real
going
good.
on in video game news, aside from leather toilets?
So, Nintendo are investing in leather by
Not really.
by releasing Nintendo Levbo. It's not. It's made of cardboard and it's called Labo. Or Labo.
No, definitely not.
Is it Labo?
It is Labo.
Like Labrador.
Officially.
Well, you have to
Or-
rhyme with Nintendo, right? Nintendo Lavo.
Amiibo.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, I
Shove an amiibo
see.
in your Lavo.
Because it's a lab and it rhymes with Nintendo.
It sounds
So
a bit
it's
French
Labo.
to me, actually. It's Labo.
Labo.
Lavo.
Sounds
Labo.
French because it starts with LA.
Yeah,
As in
absolutely.
La.
Nintendo Labo.
Classic French word.
Shia LaBeouf. It's...
Le Boeuf.
What is this thing?
Good question. It's
I
like
was asking, why don't you tell us?
I was asking for someone other than me to talk. All right.
It's like a £70 box of cardboard, isn't it?
Pretty well. Yeah, we don't know the UK prices just yet, but
I thought that was it.
I thought they'd released the US prices.
It comes with software though, so
yeah. So it's basically like a cardboard construction kit where you make things out of this flat packed cardboard that they give you, and some string that I assume is in the box as well in some cases, and reflective stickers and things like that. And the idea is you then use the Joy-Cons in these constructions to make working toys or something, to make sort of toy game interactivity things.
So does this mostly rely on the kind of weird depth sensor thing that no one else uses for anything?
So a lot of it is, yeah. A lot of it is based on the mysterious right Joy-Con's IR camera, or depth sensing, whatever that camera is, and however it works. It actually seems what this all suggests is that the fidelity of that thing is probably way better than we all anticipated, right? Because
so it's got that thing, and each Joy-Con obviously has like full like motion detection and rumble, HD rumble, right? And what else? I guess they've got quite a few things.
Well, it's mostly that's going to be used here. I mean, I don't think they're using like the buttons on them attached to things to press them, right? I think that's the one thing they're not doing,
right? With
this, it's like it's almost entirely motion or vision controlled,
right?
With these things, or there are some
things, a kind of weird Lego Mindstorms thing.
Well, kinda. I mean, this is where it gets a bit fuzzy. In the trailer they showed, which was a really cool trailer. They showed an awful lot of different contraptions like that were going to be in this thing, ranging from weird little throwaway models that you could then use vibration in the Joy-Cons to make do things, like the man that just sort of falls over
because he vibrates and falls over.
Yeah. Brilliant. Or the little bug things that's like you put one Joy-Con on each half of them, and by vibrating just one of them, the thing sort of moves a bit like tank controls, which is kind of fun. Okay. But then they during those bits of the trailer, they actually showed bits of the interface on the device where it looked like there was some amount of programmability going on.
Okay.
Just for those things. But it wasn't super clear. Also, it's none of those sorts of toys appear to be in the announced packs that they've actually brought out. So there's the Variety Pack, or Toy-Con 1.
Toy-Con.
Or the Robo Kit, otherwise known as Toy-Con 2, which are the only two that have been officially announced. But some of the stuff like shown, like the camera and the gun, and even that very elaborate steering wheel contraption, are not yet announced as being in one of the packs. I think that a lot of this stuff is actually still prototypical.
Right.
But things like the piano that they showed, the cardboard piano, is in the Variety Pack. Some of the things I think they showed active, like the weird house, I think, is with the thing you can plug into the side of it and it makes a faucet appear in the game world or something. That's also one of the
faucet?
A tap.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, yeah. Right.
Yeah. So it all looks... I can't really decide if it's incredibly cool or just another thing that's going to fail miserably.
It might be between those. Like it might be something that's not that cool that is nevertheless really successful, like the Wii Nintendo. Anyway,
because it's like well, the thing is it comes across as a little bit pricey. So in American money, the Variety Pack is set to release at $70.
Right.
For a game and cardboard.
Oh, that's where I got that number from. Okay.
And the Robo Pack, which is a big robot suit. We haven't even talked about it yet. It's string-controlled robot legs and arms suit thing, cool. Giant backpack, and associated game, which everyone thinks might have been where Project Massive Robot, or whatever that was called, Project Giant Robot or something, actually eventually became. Mm-hmm. That thing's $80. For cardboard and a cartridge. And I can't help but think this whole success of this thing hangs on one or two things. One, the gift market, because I can see parents of kids that are probably not their own, seeing this as a very giftable thing, if they're willing to spend that much money.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, for sure.
And secondly, it relies entirely on the strength of that software, right?
Well, yeah, I mean...
If what they've made to use these things with is compelling and fun and lasts a long time, it's a decent enough game that you'll come back to.
Yeah, that sort of seems unlikely, though, doesn't it? I mean, if you're talking like $80, how much is a game? $50, $60 or something? Like, as in, like, if you went out to buy Mario Kart, how much is that?
$60.
$60. So so it's more expensive than just a game like Mario Kart, and all you're paying extra for is like cardboard, effectively, with some nice stickers and things. It doesn't seem like that software is going to have as much put into it as like a full-blown game. Otherwise,
well, here's the other part of that. You said nice stickers and things. The decoration packs are not part of the built-in stuff. They're like $10 or something for a decoration pack.
Okay, well, I don't know. It's like, it seems expensive. But then, to be fair, like things I'm thinking about comparing it to, like Lego Mindstorms, which Zeg had, and did a lot more. That was still like expensive stuff.
A good couple £100, wasn't it, for the pack, even when it launched? But
not quite that though.
Wasn't it not? Okay, but that to me seems infinitely more flexible.
Definitely,
a lot more effort went into.
That's
it,
the thing. It's like
more possibility exists.
Because I guess the idea is that with cardboard, you could get some cardboard and make whatever you want, but not really, right? Because you could.
Well, it depends where the programmability part comes in.
Exactly,
right? But then what's the market for that? What's the market for people making their own cardboard contraptions and then programming stuff with them? And how is that even going to play out? And I think some of that stuff is why the prototypical models like the bird, whatever that they've shown, aren't part of any of the packs yet. Because I'm not 100% sure Ninty know what to do with it yet.
Yeah, I think
we've made these cool things, but I'm not 100% sure that they know where the software side is going on some of that stuff.
Oh, it seems like that's what they actually should have done to start with, is just basically make the Mindstorms be the base product and then make the special games that are specific to one design come later.
There's going to be some badass 3D printed versions of this, or someone's going to make like an antique wood one.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Oh, that'd be so cool though. Someone takes that piano and just makes it out of wood.
Like an actual piano or something.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, I think, obviously good luck to them, but if I were a kid, I'd be like, that looks cool, but I'd rather have Lego Mindstorms, please, Mum.
You're well predisposed to Lego, though.
That's true, but a lot of people like Lego, to be fair.
Well, Lego Mindstorms is clearly cooler than modern Lego, so, it's got that going for it.
What do you mean modern Lego?
I mean modern Lego. Fuck modern Lego.
Oh, really? Oh, hot take.
It's not that hot. We've been saying that since, like, when the first round of real Star Wars Lego came out.
Yeah, but
we were like, fuck this shit, our shit's better.
That's true, but like, to be fair to Lego, like, it got shit and it got better again. Like, it's actually
recently,
okay.
I guess
Recently, it's better.
When you say better, wasn't your primary complaint that they kept using like special pieces?
Yeah, that is the main problem with what.
Well, it went at one point. It went all like terrible and like really kid friendly, and they had massive like specialized pieces, and then it was all Bionicle and stuff, and then they had like a renaissance where it sorted itself out.
Isn't that still about as well?
Yeah, probably.
Like, doing
but that was
relatively well for itself.
But that was like the most successful thing for a while, which was a bit depressing.
Well, but, I mean, Bionicle wasn't terrible in terms of like it just it used a bunch of weird parts, but they were still parts.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
But then I seem to remember, like, for me, like the sort of the start of the disappointment came when they started. Was that the underwater set where a lot of the submarine pieces were just
quite large?
Yeah. Where they were quite large and bespoke, right? Like, here's a big ass fan piece, or here's the bulkhead piece.
Yeah, it's improved. It's pretty good these days. And they have so many sets now, way more than they used to. There's like at least double the number per year, or maybe more. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with Mindstorms though. I think they've got like version 3 or something at the moment, haven't they? And they've even got like a more younger kid friendly Mindstorms thing,
like Duplo Mindstorms.
So I think Mindstorms has got more complicated, and then there's now some kind of intermediate one.
Huh. That seems sensible.
Yeah.
In fairness, that thing was it was both very smart and not smart enough, because it was kind of, I don't know, I guess at the time it was impeded by Windows 95 era technology, right? Not the most slick integration, whereas now they could just do it with an iPad, right?
And it was like first generation of even the parts, like the sensors and the motors and the stuff were kind of sucky.
Yeah. It'd be really interesting to see what the new stuff's like, actually.
Well, the thing is that, like, remember that Technic, and I think Mindstorms as well, like, got rid of the studs, right? So they're not really...
you mean the Lego game currency?
No, I mean literally
studs.
Like the Lego pieces. Like Technic now, if you buy a Technic set now, it doesn't have studs on like a Lego set. It's all done with the pins and like panels. Yeah.
So they've gone Meccano.
I mean, they sort of started doing that as soon as you got those flat arms that Technic introduced, where they're just those smooth, like oval shaped.
But now
it started going down that way.
Huh.
It's entirely that way now, so it's quite different. But I think Mindstorms is the same. It's all made out of those pin, with the smooth-sided things with all the pins in.
That does seem kind of inconvenient, because sometimes you need just like a big flat base plate to put things on.
Or build some cosmetics onto it, surely.
Yeah, it's interesting. They do all the cosmetics with like these weird plates now, and they look kind of cool, to be fair. Anyway, Lego talk. I'm just saying we've gone straight off Nintendo, but I'm saying that cardboard, expensive cardboard versus
Yeah, I don't know. There is a certain sure, the appeal will be like dad and child building something together, right?
Sure, yeah.
That's still a thing, but I kind of feel like this will be way more short-lived than something like a Lego kit. I don't know. Then again, my experience with Lego wasn't all that great. I was the bad Lego person, right? Where I would build the model and then sort of like to look at it.
No, that's
necessarily bad.
Yeah, that's
but fine. I didn't get that much playtime out of Lego. I suppose it's like I'd get the build and then I'd be sort of done with it. But I suppose that is what Lego is. I didn't really experiment. I didn't go outside the parameters all that much.
Well, the trouble...
Kinects, I went wild. Kinects was my thing for going crazy. But,
that's because you didn't have enough Lego. It's like
I guess.
The thing about Lego, you really needed like more than one thing to put together, and then you could start doing weird. Because they always try and show you like on the classic back of the manual thing where it's like,
you could
look at these other things you can do with this set, and it's like, but those aren't very great, are they? Because you're trying to reuse these pieces in as like dodgy ass way as you possibly can, but there's clearly not enough pieces here to build anything new, really. You get 2 sets though, and then you can start making weird shit.
I remember with Kinects trying to make weird, do you remember laser discs? Not the format that you play giant films on, but the sort of weird like holographic discs that you sort of spin and they make patterns and stuff. I remember trying to make cradles for those that you could then shine a light on to make my room look awesome.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they never really worked because the motor wasn't even powerful enough, or I couldn't make it stable enough unless I built it massive.
Yeah. And also the Kinect motor was insanely loud.
Yeah, it was very loud. Yeah. The most successful motorized thing I think I made was using the battery motor pack that came from the Kinect dinosaurs to make like a little buggy that had an extra wheel on it that could pick up the little bits of fluff on the carpet.
So you built a really terrible room there.
No, but it didn't clean it. It used the bits, the divots to hook on. It was like a pulley wheel, not a proper wheel or anything. So it had like that sort of ridge in it. So like the bits of fluff in the carpet would sort of jam it in there. And because that wheel was turning, it would turn the buggy around and it would go a different direction. It was very specific to my living room. It didn't really work anywhere else.
It's very specific to your terrible girlfriend.
Yeah, basically. And, just giant Men in Black guns. They were fun to make and connect, because you could make big things real quick. I never did. I always wanted to expand upon the shell of the gun that I'd made, so it had like a you remember the Kinect's big ball factory that I had, like so you could like fire those out.
Yeah, you want to be able to launch those balls.
Yeah,
that was the trick.
The ball launch. I never did get that working.
Well, Kinect didn't really let you do that, really. Not as easily as you could with Lego.
I suppose I could just tie some elastic bands on and stuff, but it was getting the ramp to be smooth enough, so things just didn't get all jammed up and stuff. It's like, even though I had the stuff, I just couldn't get it quite to work. Because the big ball factory had like rubber pipes you could use to do that stuff, but yeah, never quite got it to work.
Nintendo
Labo. It's making us think of better things.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, but whatever. It's come up with cool, crazy new stuff. Nintendo.
For all we know, that robot game might actually be awesome.
Yeah, who knows? We shall see.
It's coming out soon. It's like March-ish.
Oh, cool.
So,
watch this space then.
Yeah, not far away. So that was basically their extra direct, I suppose. It wasn't even really a direct. I just put that trailer out after the mini direct. What else are we going to talk about? Xbox Game Pass is getting some improvements. To the point where Microsoft have now said that every single first-party exclusive on the Xbox will be released day and date on Game Pass. Day and date, sorry, not day and date. So it'll be so things like Sea of Thieves, for instance.
Yeah.
If you have Game Pass, you will get it day one as part of the pass. So I'm quite tempted now, because it's like £8, £9 a month or something to run Game Pass. So when Thieves comes out, I'm probably just going to get it on pass, right?
Right, rather than buy it outright.
Rather than actually buy it outright, because I might burn my time that I want with that game during the duration for as long as I want to pass. But then I would also get things like, Gears of War 4 that I still haven't got around to playing, and things like that would also be on there. Crackdown 3, as soon as that launches, will be on the service as well. And one other game they've already confirmed that they're making next year that I can't remember will definitely be on the service day one. And it's I don't know, it's starting to make this thing sound like it's actually a pretty good deal. But before, my criticism has been like, oh, actually, the number of games on the service that I want to play is actually relatively small, or I've already acquired them through Games with Gold.
Right, exactly. So if it's starting to look like better proposition, then
you're actually buffing to get the games you probably would play on an Xbox anyway. The only downside to Game Pass still, in my eyes, is that the Game Pass is not Play Anywhere compatible. As in, the games you might be getting on the service might be Play Anywhere titles like Sea of Thieves or Gears of War, but you won't be able to use them on a PC. You'll only get access to the Xbox version.
Oh, so like for your Forza Horizon, you wouldn't be.
Yeah, so that would be a bit of a bugger, because it would mean I'd be forced to play the Xbox version, whereas I wanted the PC version of Horizon so I could use a wheel, right? So I'm still a bit boned on that front, given that Forza is one of the few Microsoft tentpole releases, I guess. Though they haven't said when Forza 7 would be coming to the service, because they did only say all future Microsoft exclusive titles. But it's just a really interesting direction. They're going in hard on this thing, harder than I thought.
Yeah, because usually it's been like an extra bonus thing or whatever, not like the main event, right?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's like, the PlayStation, you need gold to be able to play online. You need PlayStation Plus to be able to play online. So a lot of people just have those anywhere in the anyway, and the sort of value add is the fact that you get games every now and then. Game Pass was like a little bonus on top of that, in that if you really do play a lot of stuff or you want games to be a bit more throwaway, I suppose, then it's like, here's a back catalogue of stuff you can get access to, as long as it's not EA and you don't care about EA titles because EA access, god damn it.
Yeah, god damn it.
Then there's a reasonable amount of stuff on there you'd probably want to play if you haven't bought games outright for a while. It's actually a pretty good proposition, say, if you've just got into the Xbox landscape. Right, that's where it excels.
Right, yeah. If you're new to
just
the console,
bought an export, get
like,
the Game
boom.
Pass, and it's like, wow, I've got all this stuff.
Yeah, you're like
for a
fully
tenner.
in.
And it's like, okay, pretty great, not bad. For people like me, it's a little bit more questionable because it's like I'm playing what I want to play anyway, and I've got a reasonable back catalogue of stuff on gold that I do want to play, but just I can't get around to. But man, that Sea of Thieves though. That might be the one thing that is tempting me in this whole shebang. It's just like, Sea of Thieves, man.
But if it's one game, then you could just buy outright then.
Well, maybe. Or you just get the pass for a while, see if it's good. And
Oh, that's true, I suppose, yeah.
use your trial. Abuse it a little bit. They have said they might be selling Game Pass cards outside the service as well. So you might be able to get like some sneaky deals, as you sometimes can with gold cards. To be like, I got my 12 months of gold slightly cheaper than I should because someone was selling this card cheap. So it could be even better. Anyway, that's the thing. What else we got in news? What else is going on? Sticking on the Microsoft side, I suppose, Playground Games, makers of Forza Horizon, are heavily rumoured to be working on the next Fable.
Oh.
That's a really weird shift, right?
That is quite strange. I wonder. I mean, Fable... I don't know. I don't know if that even has potential. You might as well just start again and make a new RPG world. I don't know why...
Yeah,
what there is in Fable that you'd want to use, really.
Well, I guess the analogy that I've heard elsewhere is that Microsoft looked at a game like Horizon Zero Dawn, right, and we're like, someone could make these big open world titles, and they do really well, and they've got an open world exclusive. What do we do? And we'll get our closest thing we have to an open world team.
Right.
Forza Horizon team.
And we'll get some IP that we have that people will recognize.
And we'll just slam those together and hope for the best, right? And forgetting the fact that Horizon was an entirely new project, an entirely new team, new to open world, and then an entirely new IP. It's not.
Well, it wasn't entirely new IP, right? Because it was Forza, but.
No. But I mean, like in Sony's case, it's like that's
they're
using
Horizon Zero Dawn
as the lesson. Of like, here's a team that we know are good doing something else that they really want to do, and we'll do it on a new IP.
Yeah,
and an exclusive. It's like this feels like the exact opposite approach, right? It's like, let's take an existing open world team, make a game that that's not driving, so it's not in their comfort zone. Let's see what they can do, but you've got to make a Fable game.
Maybe it is going to be a driving game. Fable kart racer.
Fable kart.
I mean, they were making the Fable, what was it, horse and cart game or whatever it was called? Were they?
What? That was the Fable on Rails thing. Fable the Journey. That happened.
Yeah. Oh right, yeah.
That came out. That was a Connect rail shooter.
There you go.
It's not on rails.
Totally is on rails.
I mean, this will only be good if they bring back Peter Molyneux and have him do absolutely nothing. Just have him in like a cage or something. He can't even speak.
If he's in the game as something you can throw fruit at, then amazing. You've done
Potentially, yeah.
You've closed the loop.
Or like every player has to throw their own fruit, and he's in a cube thing, and you have to gradually break down the
whittle it down.
I don't know.
What, we're slowly whittling down his ego. Is that what this is? Amazing. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. Just a weird rumor. It'd be highly probable to be true. What else is going on? Yuji Naka, who is credited as being one of the creators of Sonic the Hedgehog, who's been kind of doing his own thing for a long time now, with limited success on the Wii. I can't even name the games he made, but he did some stuff there, and he's kind of gone quiet for a while. And he's now supposedly working for Square Enix on something.
Squeenix.
Yeah.
The Squeenix.
Just,
good. Well,
I'm only bringing that up as to fulfill our Sonic Minute.
Go Yuji Naka. Make us a not Sonic.
Not anything to do with Sonic.
Well, no, nothing to do with Sonic, but like that guy is an important part of who we are, man. What else is going on?
I wanted to talk about something annoying. I don't suppose it's news, annoying, but it's just like a topic. Do you know what's going on with? I mean, we do know what's going on, but with graphics card prices, have you seen this?
Yeah. Didn't they skyrocket in the wake of the Bitcoin? But
they're still up. Like,
oh god,
they're massively up, and it's like prohibitive now. Like, I mean, obviously they'll go down again eventually, but we're talking like multiple months where gamers can't buy cards at a reasonable price. Like, you could go online and like most places are sold out, but if you go on like Scan or Overclockers, they just have a 200 quid markup on what they used to cost or whatever.
Yeah,
and that's not
uncommon actually. For like when a new card range comes out, like I remember when was it the 680s or something like that, when that era of Nvidia card, they became super scarce.
But this isn't just that. This is it's not just the scarcity of the manufacturer. It's that they all get instantly bought by the crypto miners. And it's these two. It's not even Bitcoin. It's like these new ones, Elysium or whatever. And basically,
Ethereum, isn't it? Oh.
Yeah, Ethereum or whatever it's called. Yeah, I don't even. That's how much I care about cryptocurrencies.
Yeah,
that I don't even know. But the worst thing. What's even worse is that the like 1070, which is more affordable than your 1080 in theory, is more power efficient, so it actually is better for mining. So they're gone.
Buy more of those.
So they now cost almost the same, if not more, than the 1080. So you're basically if you're in the mid range of graphics cards right now, you're priced out completely. You're fucked because you could buy one, but it would be insane because you're paying way over the odds, and who knows what's going to happen in like a couple of months. Maybe it'll be back down. You don't know. So basically, there's nothing you can do right now about graphics cards.
Both the Nvidia and
AMD and Nvidia. Yeah, everyone is screwed currently. You can't buy graphics cards right now; they're too expensive.
Wow.
So you got in at the right time, man. Because
I guess.
And I phoned because I need money.
Well, no. In theory, had I done this. The right time would have been about 2 months ago when the TI came out, right?
Yeah, I guess, but
that would have been
but the TI is like on launch is like not reasonable. It's really expensive. So like for the average gamer, that's not like a good thing anyway, really. I mean, it is. the thing is, you don't need a TI unless you're doing VR.
Well, even then, you can do most things with a 1080 easily in VR.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Unless you're doing, or maybe you're trying to do ridiculous 4K stuff or whatever.
Pushing 4K 60 is still a struggle.
Yeah, 4K 60 for example. But anyway, currently you're screwed. Yeah, Zeg, if you want to buy a PC now, you're screwed, and it's really annoying. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. Apparently, so the only news I've got is that Nvidia have sort of issued a statement, like trying to urge retailers to sell to like real gamers, but basically that's bullshit. They don't care.
How are they gonna know?
Yeah, so they don't care how they're selling them as long as they get sold.
The retailers are just making paper, so yeah, it's not gonna stop.
Yeah. So basically, there's nothing to be done until these particular cryptocurrencies calm down from being but Bitcoin isn't really mineable by a I don't know, like that anymore.
No.
But there's always going to be new bloody cryptocurrency, so I don't know.
I've never really fully grasped the point and how they function, and how they can be sustainable in any way. Any of these cryptocurrencies.
Well,
they all feel like when you start digging into the detail, they all seem like a scam of sorts.
Well, they're not. I mean, the value fluctuates massively. So, like as an investment, they're not the best
as
idea.
A currency, they fail, right? Simply because of that, right?
Yeah,
if you were to
but that could be true of that could be true of a normal currency, like the Zimbabwe currency or whatever is fucked or whatever. Like, it's not the fact that they're cryptocurrencies that makes them fucked currencies, or like they're just as good as a currency, arguably, as anything else.
There are things about how blockchain processing work that means that, like, say, there's something about, and I don't know the detail on this, so I might be getting this a little bit wrong, but it's like normally if you're using normal ass money and butt-based money, and you make a transaction, like the point of like that transaction is sealed, regardless of what you're about to do. Is at that point hands are shaken, or someone's clicked pay now, right? It's like then everything at that moment in time is locked and done. With blockchain, that's not true. And if you've purchased something that involves like a conversion of currency or something like that, the value can change over the course of the blockchain validation.
Right. And
so it's only at the end of the validation that the actual transaction is like done. Happened. So like over the course of a few hours or however long it takes for actual validation to take place in blockchain now, it's like the value of what you've purchased could be wildly different.
I suppose it could have changed.
Currency a gamble.
But I guess the theory is that the value doesn't fluctuate that much within an hour or a couple of hours. And the advantage is that that your transaction is widely published, right, in a way that isn't necessarily true with real money, right? Because like there's no way to like say that transaction didn't happen, because everyone on the blockchain over those hours gets informed-ish. Well, at least it becomes so widely public that transaction that there's no way to like say that didn't happen or screw you over. Yeah.
But then there's more problems with like the have you heard about the control issue over it, where it's like if someone manages to have a majority share in blockchain processing,
right,
you effectively have a majority. You effectively have total control over what transactions can and can't happen.
I guess that's true, but I guess the theory is that
close. There's like a group or something that's getting closer and closer to actually hitting that point.
But you'd have to have like to gain.
You'd have to have like 51% majority, right? And then at that point, you can basically say,
you can fuck everything.
I don't want these transactions to happen, and then that puts the whole. Even if they are behaving reputably, there still becomes a trust issue there, right? And it's like, we have to absolutely trust that you are running these correctly.
Yeah, but no one would fuck with it because that would just decimate
break
the value.
The currency. Yeah, exactly.
It would
it's like that is hopefully the upside. It's just, I don't know. The whole thing just feels like a complete mess, and it's like, and to the point where I don't get the benefit of it over money. It's like, why does it at this point, why does it exist? Money just seems to function.
Well, I mean, with this current situation, the truth is, unfortunately, you can buy a fuck ton of graphics cards and then you can have your computer all the time and you can actually sell that back for real money. In the current situation, you can do that, which is annoying.
Yeah, but not really.
Yeah, but people are. That's why there aren't any graphics cards.
Yeah, but only people who have an insane amount of initial investment. It's not like you can do it. It's not like any old person can buy 2 graphics cards and be like, Bitcoins.
And it's also, isn't the whole mining philosophy random lottery anyway? Like,
Well, it's not just random lottery, it's also like first come, first served almost. Like, you have to report the blockchain result back to the block before anyone else, so you have to have like the best internet connection as well or whatever.
Yeah, all that stuff. It's
which I guess the argument is that it drives competition, right? That's the goal in this, so that everyone should be boosting their power. But then the amount of energy that must be being wasted on running this.
That's my biggest issue, is apparently like cryptocurrencies in general like use more power than Denmark. Wow. Which is just insane, right?
That's a stat.
I mean, I don't understand why they don't seem to care how all these hipsters and all their bitcoins or cryptocurrencies don't seem to care that they're destroying the planet. It doesn't make any sense to me because you're literally just wasting, like you're solving mathematical puzzles for no reason, right? Other than like there's this perceived value created.
Perceived security.
Yeah, but it's like you're just heating up the planet. Pointlessly. It's not. I don't know. I suppose technically, like we're all heating up the planet by watching TV or whatever. But like at least we're getting some entertainment out of it.
Yeah.
Well, technically, what you're doing is currency transfer, right? You're paying for electricity and turning that payment into a different type of money.
Well, yeah.
I am not. I've never been a fan of this whole thing. I'm a fan of the idea of single currency, and I kind of always have been.
Yeah.
Like the idea of getting rid of multiple currency types globally, I'm okay with that. But
I mean, it's kind of a cool idea to have value in a form that's based on trust just between peers and not with like governments and financial institutions. I think that's the main draw for me, but thing that interests me is like it's not down to, it's completely democratized, right? And it's that value has nothing to do with like borders or banks or governments or anything there. It's just purely based on what we decide to assign value to based on this blockchain, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of a cool idea, but then I'm not into the downsides of it though.
No. Then if you put it in another bro, you want to look at it technologically. What purpose does the blockchain have outside of this? It has no.
Well, what they should have done is monetize folding at home.
Well, yeah, if you can monetize that, but that's the thing, is that that never works, does it?
I don't know if you're. I mean, that actually would be almost the perfect solution, right? Like folding at home in many ways was actually one of the best devised ideas ever.
Yeah.
To couldn't get as much computation as you can on an incredibly difficult project. Is that thing still running?
Maybe, but not in the form that it used to, I'm sure.
Yeah, but even if like the incentives were like, hey, you get like a dollar every now and then, and that was how the research fund paid for this project rather than paying supercomputer time, and it still worked out as cheaper for them than running than their own computer stash to do so, then yeah, go for it, right? Why not throw that into the mix?
Yeah.
Then you'd be getting these Bitcoin miners to actually spend all their ridiculous hardware on helping someone. Ugh.
Anyway, just big rant about graphics cards and that you can't buy them. God damn.
Ruining video games for everyone.
Yeah. Basically, it's going to be console time for a while.
What we're saying is, don't buy a PC, buy a console right now.
Right now, that's the only thing to do, because you're basically screwed.
Console.
Yeah. Which is,
I'll
goddamn.
probably end up buying a PC anyway. God damn it. I'll just have to look at the graphics card prices slightly more closely.
Yeah, just watch out.
You're not... What are you running? You're running a
670.
670? Yeah. So it will be bottlenecking.
Well, it's not just that, it's the whole rest of the PC that's 7 years old.
Yeah.
It's like everything on my PC is a bottleneck at this point.
At least with graphics cards, you can at least... The graphics card is like the easiest thing in the system to upgrade, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Buy the entire
I don't
framework.
want to do that now.
Yeah.
If I'm going to get... I don't want to just get a new graphics card at this point. I need the whole...
I know, but you could buy the entire rest of the frame and then get the cards when the price becomes reasonable.
I guess.
You just won't see the immediate benefit, I suppose. Or it won't be quite as... I was about to say pungent. That's not right at all.
Not quite as pungent.
Well, it wouldn't be quite as pleasant because there'd be slightly less electronic smell.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll be burning that factory crust off it.
Right, anyway, what have you been playing?
Yeah.
Zeg, what have you been playing?
Well, I had 2 weeks where I played something new right at the start, right at the end, and in the middle there was another thing. It's been a very precisely separated 2 weeks.
Very organised.
With some big gaps in between those 3 segments as well. So pretty much literally immediately after the last podcast, I played the demo on the Switch of Dragon Quest Builders.
Right. Yeah.
That Dragon Quest Minecraft knockoff thing.
Yeah. That it conceptually sounds pretty cool. I love the story setup for this thing. Like, no, everyone's forgotten how to build stuff.
It's kind of cool, apart from it immediately doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, of course it doesn't.
Well, no, not just like from a conceptual standpoint. It's like you go to the world and it's like, oh, nobody knows how to make shit any longer. And then the first person you come across, you're like, oh my god, you know how to make things. Show me, and then you show them how to make one thing, and then suddenly they know how to make things again.
Oh, okay.
It's like apparently it's not actually that much of a problem. It's like you only need to show someone how to make a bed, and then suddenly they just know how to make things.
So actually, in this world, they just don't have any teachers.
Yeah,
that's what it's actually about. It's a game about the teaching crisis.
Yes, that isn't the actual thing. It's like you're the only person who can start that chain of knowledge, I guess.
Huh.
And because all the remaining people have spread out all over the place, there's no central. You have to attract them to your town, and then you can tell them how to make a bed, and then they'll be good. Yeah. But yeah, it is exactly what it appears to be. It's just like, you mine stuff and you build things, and it has a like. It's like how Terraria was the 2D Minecraft, but with more gameplay. This is like Terraria, but back in 3D again, but with less.
Right. So it's a bit halfway housey, in your opinion?
It's like, you build specific arrangements of furniture in a room, and it becomes a specific type of room that has a specific purpose, and different the NPCs that you attract to the town will interact with the room to do things. Because apparently, once they learn how to make things, they can just do it constantly. Like, if you make a workshop, I think it seems like every functional room revolves around having at least one chest in it. Because once you have one of these functional rooms, at the end of the day, your NPCs just deposit bonus items in them, depending on what type of room it is. So, like, if you have a kitchen, you just get extra food just appears in the chest at the end of the day.
Can you get bonus ducks?
Quite possibly. So yeah, it's like the whole point is to build up your town, but then the actual bonus of building up your town is that you just get extra stuff for free, I guess, and then you can reinvest that into making your town better, I suppose.
Oh my god, the cat has just walked next to me, right? Her breath smells really bad. It's like, wow, that's bad. That is like, to smell cat food, mate. And then you mix it with stubble burner.
Well, apparently you'd better be careful when you go cat food shopping tomorrow with what you buy.
Yeah, forgot to buy cat food. I meant to go get cat food, and I totally didn't buy cat food. I bought pizza instead. Yeah, I know.
So anyway,
sorry about that.
Yeah,
cat intervention.
I guess I played that whole demo, and that was it. It's like, it seems like it might have been slightly interesting, but it, probably isn't as complicated as it may have been. It's like, it's probably quite simple. It's hard to tell though. And also, I know this is kind of a situation of the thing the design of the game that they made, but because it's third person, it kind of makes it not very easy to build a house. Like, when it says you have to make a room and then you put the certain objects in the room and it becomes a functional type of room, rooms do not include a ceiling.
Right.
It's just a too-high wall around a space and then you put things in it. Because it's third person, so there's not really
any need for a ceiling?
Well, it's because you wouldn't be able to see. There is a couple of caves that you can go in and the camera is awkward. And so it's you probably wouldn't want to have to deal with this. But, you could have just made it go into first-person mode or something, or just have a toggle.
Where build mode is more of a menu-driven thing, maybe, or cursor-driven? Or...
No, it's not. That's the trouble as well. You have to physically build stuff. It does at least sort of help you. If you initiate building a wall and you just hold down the button, firstly, it automatically stacks too high, so it just puts the second block on top. And while you're holding down the button, it locks you into straight lines. So you can just strafe sideways and build a full-length wall in one row.
Yeah, okay. helpful.
So that's at least sort of useful.
So has this demo piqued your interest?
Not really.
No?
I mean...
Fail demo.
Not for the price that I'm asking for it, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, because what is it? Well, I don't think it was a full price title when it launched, but what is it? Still like 30 quid or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nintendo tax.
And also, there's no... I don't give a shit about Dragon Quest.
Yeah, sure. Slimes.
Yeah, there were slimes. You hit them, and you get slime gang or whatever.
Get him.
There was a dragon. I guess that's the other part of Dragon Quest.
Wow.
And because it's a demo, it's like they've clearly left in this dragon to be like, oh look, there's a dragon, even though it's in a bit of the map that the demo never tells you to go to. Like if you're an explorer, you find the dragon, and it's like, well, you can technically fight it, but the only weapon you have does 1 damage, so be prepared to stand there and beat it up for like 2 whole goddamn days in game, and use 2 entire weapon durabilities. Have to have a spare weapon to switch to halfway through, because you're only doing 1 damage. You're very slowly whittling down itself, and then when you eventually kill it, you get a nice couch.
Okay.
So yeah, there was that. And then the middle thing that filled the middle section of the 2 weeks was I actually went and played through properly Steve Wilting 2. No sequence breaking this time.
Right.
Actually do it for real.
So, and how did your experience differ?
Well, it wasn't as much that I missed as I thought. It's like the bit that you skip is like it's a specific map, because there's the way the map is laid out. There's like the mine shaft in the middle. There's like the temple on the right, and then there's like the jungle on the left. So there's these 3 zones, and then the bit that you skip, I thought was a separate zone, and it technically is, but it's more like a set piece. It's more like a dungeon. It's not like the regular map, really. I mean, there's still bits that you dig through, and it's still tile based and everything, but it's more like a mission. You go in there, and it's also a stealth section. So stealth sections, everyone loves them. And there's an achievement for getting through it without setting off the alarm or whatever.
Yeah. Boo.
It wasn't too much of a trouble.
Okay.
And it's not very long, so that's why I thought it was bigger than it was, but it's not really. It's just like this little mini set piece, and then you go in and you go out. Actually, it's kind of weird. Like you go in there, and I was expecting more story to happen than actually did. In fact, I'm not sure what you really learn by going in there. I mean, I guess you come back out into the place where you get the jetpack, I guess. But I was expecting to get the jetpack in there. I thought that was the point of going in there. It was like you were going in there to get that technology that you need, but it turns out you don't. You just you get the jetpack outside afterwards because you just happen to teleport to where the jetpack is. It's not like and the jetpack is still. It's not like special technology. It's still just a regular upgrade station or whatever. It's just you just couldn't have got to this upgrade station without having to go through this place. But you don't really seem to have any other purpose to go to the place. You don't learn any other information really, except I guess when you come back out, your companion robot dude who had to plug himself into the system to get you inside in the teleporter. He learns where the 3 devices are that you destroy if you're doing the sequence break.
Okay, right.
So that's how you're meant to discover where those are. But that's not really... That doesn't seem necessary for you to go in there and go through this whole thing. Like, you could have just jacked into the system for a couple of seconds and got that information, it seems like. So, yeah.
It's like... Well, it's just Mission Impossible, isn't it? You got to get to the one terminal that has the knock list on it.
Yeah, except not really, because you don't do anything. In fact, the whole thing that you do when you're in the place that you get teleported into is basically just run through it. It's like the first section, you're just falling down a giant shaft. Then you've got the stealth section where you have to avoid the detection of the robots that turn on if you get too close. And then at the end, all the robots turn on and you just have to flee and then you get teleported out and that's it. It's like, okay, that had no story significance at all, really. Unless you count the bit where it does a fake loading screen or whatever, where the screen glitches out and then some computer text appears and says things which you can read, and if you interpret it, you might say, "Oh, yeah, I guess that does tell you a marginal amount of stuff about the story, but not really."
So you didn't miss out then, really?
No, not really. I'd already seen basically everything.
Did it get easier now you had the tools that you missed?
Well, the jetpack does make things very, very easy. Like almost too easy. Especially when you get the jetpack. There's two upgrades. There's the upgrade that I accidentally nearly got myself stuck sequence breaking to for the jetpack. That upgrade lets you basically fly through soft rocks. Like any tile that counts as soft, you just mash through. So that makes it pretty easy. And then the final upgrade that you get from paying, like on the upgrade station, it's very expensive, but the last upgrade for the jetpack essentially makes it infinite, so you can just fly forever, which makes it even easier. I was like, that's maybe a bit much. But by that point, you've seen most of everything anyway, I guess.
Yeah, so it's just about it helps you mop up, I suppose, if you've missed anything, or
yeah. So I also got all the artifacts scattered around the world. But then I haven't done the stupid ultimate trial or whatever, because that's way too difficult. It seems like it's like generally the game is quite easy, but then they put all the ridiculous shit into the secret ultimate trial, which is just way too hard. It's the exact opposite. It's like stand on this moving platform as it goes down this corridor and avoid a million like little firebolts shooting at you from every goddamn angle. It's like that's not really great. And then that's only one part of the ultimate trial. Of course, the actual secret to the ultimate trial of like the thing that tells you that it's way too ridiculous is that's where they basically put in the sequence break tricks as if they had been in the previous game. Because the previous game's sequence break had that incredibly precise jump you had to do. Like, it was like a double wall jump and you had to like curve round a corner or whatever. It was really awkward, which is why I didn't do it in the first game. Whereas in this game, the sequence break is well easy. But in the ultimate trial of this game, there's a whole section which is just about really dodgy wall jumps and like precise angles where you have to know, like, because I was trying to do. There's a bit where you have to like jump up, do like back and forth wall jumps 3 times. Except like the walls are too far apart, so you can't gain height just by wall jumping between them like you normally would. So I was trying to do it by like sprinting up, doing a double wall jump on one wall, and then using the momentum to get back across to the other wall. And that works for like the first one, but then I couldn't chain that onto the second one. And it turns out there's another glitch in the wall jumping that I didn't know about, which was even more difficult to pull off than like the dodgy corner wall jump and stuff, where like if you wall jump at the exact moment you hit the wall, you go up a lot more for no apparent reason.
Weird.
And I was like, I didn't know that, so there was no way I could have possibly done that trial because there's no way to discover that without just seeing someone else do it. Really,
is that thing just built for speedrunners? Do you reckon, like to ruin the 100% run?
Maybe. And you get the achievement for the ultimate trial or whatever, the pride achievement. I mean, I expect I could do it eventually. It just take a long time, and I'm not sure if it requires you to do it all in one go exactly, because every time you go in there it seems to randomize what part of the trial you start on.
Oh right, weird.
So I'm not sure whether if you complete one part of it and then die in the next part and then go back in, does that count as completing that part? I don't know. Probably not.
Probably not.
So there's that. I guess I've done sufficient. I could theoretically try and, because I didn't get there's an achievement for getting gold in each of the 4 different stats or whatever, like money and then secrets and then wealth.
Money and wealth?
Well, no, hang on. Money as well. Speed would be the last one. I didn't get speed because it's like, also that achievement doesn't tell you how fast the speed run is. But you just
get all high rank in all of those things simultaneously.
Well, there's also an achievement for that.
Oh wow!
Which I'm not sure whether that is that. It might. Does it mean just get them all? Does it mean that you need to have had gold in all of those at some point, or does it literally mean do all of them in one run? Oh, the 4th category is no deaths. That's what it was.
Right.
Number of deaths. I got that. The only one I didn't get was speed. But I don't know if I can be bothered to play that one again.
No, I mean, if you've gone through something twice, that's normally like a fairly decent amount of like you played that game a bit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You've given it a pretty decent shake.
And also, once you I guess it's like that's the speed category, but once you know what you're doing, it's much quicker to do it.
Sure. Yeah.
I did get through it much quicker the second time through, but not quick enough. I expect this. I have a feeling that probably getting the speed run probably requires the sequence break, or at least the sequence break makes it much easier to get gold in everything. Probably because I did when I did the sequence break, I did still get enough money, even though I guess technically I did still explore everything. Just not that bit. The bit that I skipped doesn't really have any money in it, I suppose.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
Maybe there's other secret skips as well that aren't like sequence breaks, but they're just like you don't need to go this way. There's a way of shortcutting the whole thing. Go this way.
I mean, you probably could skip quite a lot of the non-essential upgrades. You probably could not bother going to get the long grappling hook, I guess. Probably.
Might be some trick to it.
And then the third thing I played towards this end of this week has been Subnautica, because that came out of early access and I already knew about it, but I avoided its early access because from what I'd seen, it was like, this looks very early access. Although also it's been in early access for a really long time.
It has been on my Steam homepage for a friggin' A. For as long as I can remember the Steam page looking like how it does now.
I wonder why it's recommended that to you then.
Yeah.
That's the question.
I know.
Because it doesn't fit any of the usual categories for ROM, I guess.
Not really. Not survival engineering.
Survival open world thing, I guess. Yeah. And it didn't appear that often on mine. I mean, I'd seen it a few times, but not constantly.
Got to admit, actually, more recently, I don't think I'd seen it. So as it actually came out, I think it probably fell off my list.
Okay.
But there was definitely a phase where it was always in the first couple of pages of its recommendations or something. It's bizarre.
Yeah. And I've seen some parts of the early access, but the other thing about its early access, and the other thing that makes it slightly different to all the other open world survival games that have been coming out lately, is that it does actually have a storyline that
I think that it just I knew nothing about it. I never really looked into it except when I saw you playing it. I was like, okay, what's the hook to this that has got Zach interested? And you know what? I don't say this about a lot of survival games. It looks like it has something, right? The underwater trick is nice, right? It's a cool little thing. The fact that it's about you crash landing on alien things, you got like alien fish and stuff as well. It's like,
yes, makes it slightly more interesting.
Yeah, it's got a pretty rad look to it.
Yeah,
it's like really neat thing, and the way the story trailer sets it up, and that you might correct me if I'm wrong, but the game seems to make it look like if you die as it, you could return and find ruins of the last person, or is it like a completely new world each time?
Yeah, I'm not sure about how that actually works. Mainly because, well, firstly, I haven't actually died. So
okay.
I haven't experienced the death from the first person, but also, I mean, there is a hardcore mode, so there is a difference between dying and actually dying, I guess. Presumably when you die normally you just respawn.
I guess.
Somehow, in an unexplained way. But also, the other thing that makes it suggest that there might be some kind of cyclical something is that you find time capsules in the world. They seem to be from the devs, though, so it might just be
their message thing, collectibles.
Like little backstory, background information about the game development or whatever. Or sometimes it's just comedy.
It's not like a Rogue Legacy room.
No, not exactly. So, and this is, I guess I sort of got spoiled myself, but supposedly at the end of the game you do get to make a time capsule, but I don't know what that implies. Because I can't remember what other game it was that did it, but there was another game that did something. It must have been one of the roguelikes. There was another game that did something similar where, like, when you died or when you got to the end of the game as a character, you could send a set. Oh, it was retiring in Torchlight. You could retire your character, but you could send a certain number of items onto a new character to give them like a starting bonus. So I wonder if it might be something like that, maybe.
Yeah. Or maybe it would be really great if it gave it to not
you,
some other.
But I'm pretty sure this game doesn't have any internet connection.
Right,
it's not multiplayer or anything.
Sure,
it's just single player. But I don't know. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure how that's going to turn out. But, and I'm also not sure if the world has any random generation or whether it is a set map. I probably should just start a new game and see if it looks exactly the same or not. Yeah. That would tell me that real quick.
Or if are you in the same place, or are you on a different part of the map? Maybe maybe the map's big enough that it's where you start could be.
The trouble is that the way you progress through it kind of needs to be laid out in a kind of similar way. Right. Like you need to have the shallows where you start, and then the first few upgrades need to be not too deep and sort of not too far away. So there needs to be some amount of, like, even if it is randomly generated, the biomes still need to be kind of laid out the same, maybe. More or less. But I don't know. I guess I can just find that out. But yeah, it does have a fairly neat kind of story to it that guides you along a bit and has some backstory, which makes it nice. It's not just an open world.
Yeah, a bit more drive to what you're doing.
Although it does seem to like have a kind of a mid-game lull, which I've kind of run into, and it's kind of sucks. Because right at the start, obviously, firstly you're like discovering everything new because you've never played the game before, and that's just inherently new.
Yeah, that's always the coolest part of these sorts of games.
But then also you're like, it seems like early in the game you're getting a lot of blueprints for stuff. New objects, new items that you can make, and that's interesting. But then that kind of tails off as you get into the middle section where you're only occasionally finding new things, and that also coincides with like the story kind of tailing off, or not exactly. Because
are you finding it harder to progress? Is that like there's a like a hump to get over?
I don't think it's harder to progress, really.
Or longer to get to the next checkpoint or something. Or
well, no, I don't think so.
Milestone, I suppose.
It's just it feels more dangerous to progress has been my main problem.
Right.
Mainly because I guess it's only natural, but as soon as you start going down like 300 or 400 meters, it's like now you really actually kind of feel like it's dangerous. Like in the first couple of 100 meters, if you can just go up and you're fine.
Right.
Beyond that, now you're fucked. And it feels dodgy with like when you're using your little mini submersibles or whatever, and it like if this thing takes enough, it seems kind of unnecessary. But if this submarine takes enough damage that I have to abandon it, I might as well just stay in it and die because I'm going to die anyway. It's like you may as well have not had your ability to eject and escape because functionally you're still dead.
Because you wouldn't be able to get.
Because you wouldn't be able to get to the surface in time before your oxygen runs out. Like that just makes it feel more dangerous, even though it's probably irrelevant unless you're playing hardcore, I suppose. And also, I find
I assume there's no bends.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing that I find weird is that like the first little submersible you get can only go down 200 meters before it destroys itself and gets crushed. Whereas you can swim wherever the fuck you want. Apparently your diving suit is way more capable than an actual submarine.
That's pretty dumb.
Apart from you don't have the air supply to go that far, so you basically have to use the submarine to take you down and then get out and do whatever the fuck you need to do. Which is also awkward. I think it's real awkward because like you want to scan things or pick things up, you have to jump out of your submarine to do it.
Oh, right.
Like the submarine doesn't have a grabber arm or a scanning device. It's your personal ones.
That's a bit weird. Can you like point out the glass window?
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, you do eventually get a mech suit, which has hands, so you can pick shit up in that. Still can't scan. It's like, I kind of want to like take my scanner and throw it on the floor and see if I can pick it up with the mech hand, but that's not going to work. I'll just put it in the inventory.
Right.
It'd be way more helpful, though.
Yeah, that seems like a little bit of a flaw.
It's kind of, it's weird and it's kind of okay. The main trouble with it is like the slight amount of lag you get every time you enter or exit the thing. The animation seems to like not be totally smooth. So you're like, as soon as you get in or out, it's like that's not very helpful. considering you're doing it constantly.
The weird thing about this game is like when you say things like that, I get a little bit worried because this game is also selling itself as a VR title.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if those animations are jerky enough, that's going to be quite awkward, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe maybe the jerkiness helps because you're not having to have a swimmy motion to get in.
Yeah, maybe because it's almost like a hard cut.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah, I'm not sure how that would work. Getting in and out of the submersible constantly in VR probably wouldn't be very good. Probably wouldn't be a very enjoyable experience to constantly have to not be in that cockpit and then be in that cockpit and then go in and out. Piloting the big submarine in VR probably would be fucking awesome. Maybe because you'd be able to see the goddamn controls easier.
Yeah.
I mean, field of view, I may be a person who plays with a very low field of view according to some people.
Yeah, what is it?
Well, it started...
sub 90?
Yeah, way sub 90. I
left it at default. Yeah.
I left it at default initially, but then I turned it up a bit, but only to like 75. That's about my usual. I think the default was probably a bit low for a change. Usually I leave everything on default. But yeah, I was like, okay, I may be a person who plays with quite a low field of view, but these controls are still really inconvenient. Because basically when you're piloting the sub, you have the control stick, which is irrelevant because you're just using WASD or whatever to actually control the movement. But it's basically got a giant heads-up display on the entire front dome, which has controls that you have to click on to do things. It's like, this is all not fully in my field of view.
So this was it sounds a little bit like something that was a little too VR designed for a game that could be played without.
Possibly. But it would be pretty cool. I mean, maybe a couple of shortcut keys would have been nice for a couple of the things.
Well, all you need is an unobtainable graphics card,
yep,
and then a grand's worth of VR kit, and you'll be fine.
But on the plus side,
actually it seems to be pushing Oculus more than Steam, so 300 quid's worth of VR.
Yes, a slightly cheaper one. On the plus side with that submarine, the options that it does have are actually cool. Like it's like a full-on goddamn submarine where you can you set the speed of the engine, and then if you go too fast, then it makes too much noise. But then you can turn on silent running; it uses more power. Oh. And then you have a shield, and you have the sonar pulse.
So it's become a little bit like Affordable Space Adventures, but in a proper sub.
Yeah, kind of. Except
full-on goddamn submarine.
Nice.
Also, kind of like, how pointful is any of this?
Yeah, right.
Because it doesn't really tell you what the usage of this stuff is. Like, I don't know if anything really reacts to sound, maybe. Like, can I be stealthy? I don't actually know. Because it doesn't really tell you. The only thing that's definitely useful is the sonar pulse, because it lets you see way further than you could actually see, of course, because it's dark underwater. And also the sonar pulse doesn't just show up landscape, it also shows up the enemies as well. So you can see enemies way further away and be like, yeah, I'm not going that way. There's something big over there. I'll go around it. And yeah, the submarine also is unnecessarily large, I think, maybe. Almost inconveniently. Like, it's quite hard to turn around if you're in a small-ish canyon. And it has collision sensors, so you can tell if you're about to run into things, but it pops up a giant warning, and you're like, okay, I better not driving exactly that direction. And it also has 3 different camera angles you can switch to. Be like, oh, I'm going to look at the rear camera to see if there's something behind me, which isn't actually helpful because then you stop moving. And if something's chasing you, you don't want to do that, obviously. But yeah. Yeah, so that mid-game lull of the story kind of, I don't know, because it's sort of 3 different segments of story running simultaneously to start with. Because you have the survival crash landing element where you're just I've got to goddamn survive and find, and the other survivor rescue pods send out messages and you can go and see what happened to them and salvage those.
Okay.
Then there's related to that, there's the dealing with the wreckage of your crashed ship because it might explode. Although, well, obviously, it's not actually going to explode because, it's a race against time.
It's a race against time.
But there's going into that bit of wreckage and looting that at some point. And then there's the story of why you even ended up on this goddamn planet and why the ship crashed there in the first place. That's the main story.
Yeah.
And then there's this secondary story about some other survivors way before you who also crashed at this place, and you can find all their habitats that they built in various places around the world. But then once you get to this mid-game point, you do all your survivor pods, you do all the previous survivor pods, you do the crash ship, and then the main story is just like, all you have to go on is a single text document that says, this alien facility is probably about here, and that's it. And you have to pretty much just find it yourself. And there doesn't seem to be any, like, secondary parts to that story. It's just like, you just have to find it.
Just gotta go. Just go do a thing.
And luckily, I mean, it was lucky that I explored as much as I did, I guess, because I went... I used the first of these text clues that was like, go in this direction from here and go to the certain depth, and it will probably be about here. So I went and did that, and I went down, and I was like, oh look, there's some alien stuff over there, so I'll just quickly make a little base here so I can have a staging outpost and go and deal with this alien stuff. And I went over there, insert the mysterious alien tablet that opens the force field, go in there, scan some things, and I was like, wow, this is real tiny. There doesn't seem to be practically anything here. I guess that's just that. But then, of course, it wasn't just that. The actual alien facility was like quite a lot further away down another cave network. I mean, I wouldn't have even found if I hadn't been like, oh, I just want to go down there and see if there's any interesting resources. And it's like, if I hadn't have gone down there and looking for resources because I was about to leave and I was like, I want to harvest some resources to take with me to the next base, because the resources are based on depth, essentially. And I knew I'd be going to somewhere new that was going to be deeper. So I was like, I need to harvest some of the resources at this depth to take with me. So I went down this cave, and there was like, oh, wait, this is the actual alien facility, not that other tiny one that I was at.
Weird.
It was like, oh, that would have sucked if I hadn't have gone here. Because this is like where the main story happened. Also, I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't have gone to that facility and I'd like skipped to the next one. Because going into that facility triggers story to happen. So it's like if I skip that story step.
Oh, what if you didn't go to the little one?
No, to the big one. Like if I hadn't discovered where the big one actually was, and I just assumed that the little one was that.
Was the big one? Then
what would have happened if I'd skipped that story step?
Probably nothing.
Well, I mean, in
can
theory,
you skip it? Like, do you think you could skip it? Because you think that certain areas would just be
I
accessible?
think you probably could skip it because there doesn't seem to be anything. Because like the alien tablets that I was using to open the door, it was weird because to open the door to that little facility, you needed an orange tablet. And the only reason I had an orange tablet was because I'd completed like the previous survivors story, because there was one orange tablet in the last one of their bases. So the only reason I had that tablet to open that door was because I'd done that. But the others, the actual facility, you didn't need anything to get in. There was no things in there that seemed to imply that you needed to take stuff with you. There was just a few things to scan, and then a story thing happened. There was no like blue tablet or something that you get in that base. It was like, so you probably could skip it. And I was like, well, that's weird. What would happen if I'd skip that? Who knows? So yeah.
Strange. Yeah.
It is kind of weird. But, you know, I feel like the story petering out is maybe sort of intentional. Like, because now I'm at the point where I don't need to worry about survival really any longer, I guess.
Except for big things.
Except for the big monsters that I just avoid, I suppose. Because I don't know if I have all the tech, because presumably there will still be some more as I go even deeper. And there's a couple of resources that I haven't seen in the wild yet, so I don't, pick those up and maybe I'll discover a bunch of blueprints or something, suddenly learn what to do with it. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like this sort of middle area is just like, now you can just build as much base as you want to prepare yourself for the final push. Or whatever. Collect resources and get ready. Although also, again, with the base building aspect, there's some things that I don't really understand what the point is. Because obviously there's a clear decoration category where it's like, here's all the random bullshit you can build for no reason. Just to make things look nice. But there's some things that you can build where it's like, I'm not entirely sure whether there's any reason to do this, like the alien containment unit. You build like a big... It's like a big fish tank, except you already get a fish tank. You get a fish tank that you can just put fish in for no reason.
But didn't you have a really large fish tank?
Yes,
like right outside?
Also.
Yeah.
You have the fish tank you can store fish in for no particular reason, but then the alien containment, if you put fish in there, will also breed. So I guess that's like you could use that for a food source, I guess. Except you already by this point have way better food sources than that. But then the other reason to use the alien containment is you can put like eggs that you find in the world. You can put them into the alien containment and then they'll hatch. But they just seem to be the eggs for the species that already exist in the world, and there doesn't seem to be any reason to breed captive versions of. Like you can take the like eggs of the shark equivalent monster and put them in the alien containment and breed tame sharks. It's like, why? Apart from it looking cool, why do you need to do that?
Yeah, it's well interesting though. That does make me. If they're specifically tame versions, that does sound like something that might be helpful. Maybe you get a shark posse.
Well,
maybe take them down with you to fight things.
I mean, I did kind of think that maybe initially, but you just release them into the one, and they just go off and do their own thing. Except they won't attack you any longer, I guess.
Maybe they spread the tameness.
Maybe, I don't know.
They have tame babies.
But yeah, this whole process of like finding the eggs in the world and then taking the alien containment and then hatching them seems pointless. But will it be pointless? Probably. It seems unnecessarily complicated for something that's pointless, and quite late in the story for something this pointless.
Maybe there are some egg. Maybe there is an egg, like a secret egg somewhere.
Maybe. I mean, the main story is all about like finding out what's going on with the ecology of this planet, essentially. So maybe at some point there will be a reason to. Also, there's been a couple of other cases where things have turned up that don't seem to have any purpose. Like there's these giant underwater mushroom trees where you can harvest them and they give you some kind of spore sample, but that doesn't seem to do anything at all. Like most other plants, if you harvest them, you can plant the plant and then grow another version of it. Mostly pointlessly, but sometimes usefully if it's a plant that actually has a use. But these mushroom spores, you can't even plant. And I'm like, well, what the hell is the point of these? Is it just weird, like, leftover things that don't actually work in the game?
It's a soup ingredient.
Because there clearly are maybe a few things that might be bugs or might be holdovers from early access that didn't get fully finished. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Like in the blueprint library, you look in your blueprint library, it says you can make a thermometer for your HUD, but you can't because that doesn't exist. It only exists in the blueprint library, but it doesn't actually exist in the game. It's like, oh, they kind of forgot to take that out apparently.
Yeah. Or put it in.
Or put it in, yes. With one of those two.
And
I feel like
not a totally smooth early access launch then.
Well, I mean, pretty smooth anyway. There doesn't seem to be that many bugs, apart from the one where I popped out of my submarine by accident somehow. Just teleported out of it and was standing on top of it, and it didn't think I was underwater. Speaking of teleporting out of it, the worst type of enemy is the one that teleports.
Oh, weird.
Not because it teleports, because it teleports you, which is very annoying. If you're piloting your little submersible near it, you suddenly go whoop, and you're not in it any longer.
Weird.
I mean, that's
how far do you travel?
Not very far, just like 20 feet, but it's kind of disorientating when you're like, oh shit, I don't know where I am or which direction the submarine actually is. And also there's this monster trying to attack me now. Stab it in the face.
The teleport fish.
Yeah. I wish you kind of had slightly better combat ability. Because basically all you get is a knife and a stasis gun which freezes things in time, providing you can hit them, which is not very easy. So the only way to combat stuff is to preemptively attack things. Stasis them while they don't know where you are, so they're not rushing at you, and then just run up and knife them until they go away.
They tend to go away before they die then, or like they'll run away and go, I'm injured.
The teleporting ones will, annoyingly, because I wish I actually could kill those. Although I don't know if they come back, because a lot of things, if you actually kill them, sort of, they just they flop on the ground twitching, the big things. And then I'm not sure they always come back. Like the area around my base, there used to be quite a few sand sharks around, but I think they've all gone because I kept stabbing them.
Right.
So I think maybe you can
break the ecology.
Well, remove some of the threats and also harvest all the little fish, because I'm pretty sure the area around my life pod is almost devoid of usable fish because I use them all at the start of the game. So yeah, it seems like it does remember some stuff to some extent. Although what doesn't remember is the goddamn scanner room. It's really important. Like you build this nice goddamn scanner room that can scan for resources, and like you get a HUD upgrade so you can have those scans appear on your actual HUD, which makes it real nice and easy to find resources. Except because of, or my theory, because of the way the game world loads in like chunks, as large open world games tend to do, the scan room can't actually scan places that haven't been loaded this session.
Oh, weird. So if you reload the game, the scan room is actually way less effective until you've gone there again yourself.
Yeah.
That's kind of cack.
I mean, there is a kind of a way around that, because the scan room also comes with camera drones. So you can just stand in the scan room, send the camera drone out, do a quick, like, spiral loop around your base to rediscover the area, essentially, and then the scanner will start working again. But that's only for a certain range away from the camera drone. So if there's a cave, you need to go down into the cave to detect it. Like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's a bit weird. That is a bit strange. I will give you that.
And also, I wish the HUD overlay that it does had like some kind of range indicator, because it's just a bunch of icons and there's no indication of how far away those are or whether they're behind a wall. Like, you have to rely entirely on parallax to work out where the thing is by like, is that one close or is it further away? If I strafe, does it stay in one place because it's actually on this wall next to me or not? Needs a kind of range indicator for those HUD icons.
Maybe.
Would be really helpful. And initially I was kind of like, initially I hoped there would be a map at some point, because, you know, there's no map. You're just like trying to navigate. You can set up beacons and that's it. And you just have this big world where you have to try and remember where stuff is, but then it's not actually that big a world. So I feel like the lack of a map isn't actually a problem once you start to get familiar with like the vague directions that different areas are in.
It'd probably be quite an awkward map anyway. What with the 3D-ness of...
Well, I would have been happy enough with just like a really basic top-down map that vaguely showed you the biome of the area. Even that would have been more than enough. Wouldn't have actually needed to be a full map or anything, just to give you a sense of direction. But it turns out the world isn't that large, and once you get going, you sort of naturally learn the directions to things and set up a few beacons, and you're good.
A few lampposts.
So there's that.
A few lights.
Yeah.
We need some 400-meter lights.
Yes, I've got a few different lights around. So that's that. It's a fairly interesting overworldish game, as long as you don't mind being underwater and constantly running out of oxygen.
And you're not technically an engineer, or are you technically an engineer?
I don't actually know what your job on this spaceship was. I think it may have been implied, maybe, but I'm not sure that message was referring to you or not. It's one of those things where it's like, it names someone and it names their job, and you're like, is that actually talking about me? I'm not sure. Could be.
First officer handyman dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and
Captain Capable.
One more thing I want to say about this game that is good is that it avoids the No Man's Sky problem of constant alerts telling you about stuff. Well, technically the alerts are constant, but in this game they're actually like well thought out. Like if you're in like the first 100 meters of water or whatever, the alert for oxygen is just says oxygen, and it's like when you have like 10 seconds and you just go up and it's fine. But once you start going deeper, the alert changes to say 30 seconds. And it says 30 seconds, and you know it's 30 seconds, and then it's like, okay, now that alert has become different and still useful.
Interesting.
And at a different time.
Yeah, that's actually really smart. So they know, in fairness, how basically I'm assuming it's just depth, but they sort of have some vague idea where it's like you're a bit further away from safety.
Yeah,
you're gonna need to think about this a lot earlier.
Although I don't think it changes again past that. I think it's still always just 30 seconds from then on. But
okay. Yeah.
By the time you're going that deep, you're coming out of a submarine, and that's your point that you need to get back to. So then you kind of need to think about it yourself.
Yeah.
You can't just go straight up for 30 seconds. You're like, am I within 30 seconds swimming distance of the place that I just came out of my submarine?
Just thinking about your thing earlier, you said like you come out of a submarine and you just die. It's like, is there no way of building like little mini bases or something where it's like just go here and get some oxygen?
Well, I mean, you can build bases, sure, but like if your submarines get destroyed, you're usually not that close to wherever you want to be. I guess.
Couldn't just swim back to base.
I have just made the extremely large oxygen tank that gives you like 230 seconds of oxygen or something. That might give you enough time to get quite a long distance, especially if you have the underwater scooter thing that you can store in your inventory.
Sure.
Maybe. And I didn't realise, but you can actually store fully filled air tanks in your inventory. So in theory, you could swap them out mid-dive, I guess.
Huh.
I assume that's how that works, because it does appear to retain the amount of oxygen when you switch.
Interesting. Yeah, that would... It's weird, but alright. Yeah, make that work. Just carrying around a giant stash of oxygen tanks.
All the tanks.
Yeah.
Full inventory of tanks. Can't pick up anything else, so it makes it kind of useless to go that far. Unless you just chuck the tanks as you go.
Yeah.
Get rid of that.
Don't need it. Pick it up on the way back.
Well, no, because then you will have picked up stuff.
And you'd have to do a recovery run, I suppose, the next run. Just go get your old tanks.
Or just fuck them. I mean, the tanks aren't that expensive to make, I guess. Well, the small tanks. The big tanks are relatively expensive. So that's that. That game is sort of interesting, and I've played it for a fair amount of time. I mean, I guess even mainlining the story, it wouldn't be that short.
It doesn't sound short.
Fairly extensive. But, it's the open world classic situation of you can invest as much time as you want into making a base.
Sure, yeah. Be the fanciest thing you can. It's like towers.
Yeah, exactly.
Just turtle all day long.
Yep.
You need a place to store that stuff and keep getting more stuff.
You got anything else?
No, that's
No.
it.
You're done.
Or at least that's all that I remember.
Yeah, that's more than enough.
Yeah.
Robe.
Me,
What have you been playing?
the cloak, the shadow.
The shadow of Kemp has descended.
Nothing really new this week to say too much. Still playing on with that Mario. I'm up to 600 odd moons now?
Yeah.
Without having to do the buying extra moon thing.
Right, yeah. I forget what the number you get before that. It's like 800 and something, I think. Before you actually do the buying to bring you up to 999.
Oh, right. So there's 800 and something actual moons.
Yeah, it's actual moons.
All right. So yeah, I'm at 600 and something. Then I just basically cleaned out Lake Kingdom and Cloud Kingdom.
The small ones.
Yeah. So I forget what I've got. I think I went back to the moon because that's one of the things I haven't got in the Lake Kingdom. Is one of them's asking for a spacesuit.
Right. Yeah.
So I've gone back to the moon to see if they're selling a spacesuit.
Which they are, of course.
And that's where I've left it. I might because obviously there's now more stuff on the moon from when I was there last, so yes. I haven't seen any of the post success changes that happened there. But I've just been sort of there have been certain things I've been hearing about some of the other levels, and it's like, oh no, I totally didn't see that. And so I'm sort of now. There's just some things about some of the other levels where it's just like, wait, what? What was that? It's like stumbling upon the deep woods, and it's like, wait, what?
Well, yeah, as I said when I played it the first time, it's like that was, it was stupid.
Yeah,
and not very well explained. I mean, not explained at all, and the exact opposite of what you'd think to do.
Yeah, yeah, deep woods is a bit weird. But yeah, there's a few things I'm hearing about. It's just like, oh, maybe I should go check that out. But I'm still poking at it slowly. So just carrying on with that. Dug a little bit more into Hand of Fate 2. I think I had a moment where I thought I was going to fall off that game, and I'm about halfway through it, and mainly because I think I'm finding and I meant to touch on this a little bit last time. I think I'm finding it's more intricate multi-step encounters more interesting than the actual sort of campaign missions that hold them, if you know what I mean. So the step-by-step campaign missions, I think some of them just run a bit too long, or some of them are just not that interesting, or like as the mechanics are changing now, I think I'm finding them a little bit more frustrating than I normally would, and I think a part of me does miss the purity of how the original game held together. Like the original one just sort of felt like it, the game of keeping going was more interesting this time, and maybe that's something that will continue to expand as I go. But it's I don't know. It's getting to the point where I think its problems are starting to become more irritating the more I play. So one of the challenges I like literally just finished just before we went on air was it was like a good 45-minute at least run to get to the thing. And the last time I did it, I got there in pretty good stead, and then I thought I was just murdered by a bad hand, so to speak. In the final boss fight, which was it's quite a frustrating experience, and it's like, yeah, that can happen. That is this game, but and that happened in the original too. But the hand it dealt me felt not only like a combination of bad guys in the combat arena that were just really awkward to fight all together, and those bad guys were chosen by random chance, and it's like, well, fine, you've made this really tricky, and I'm not actually that well equipped to deal with this combination. Okay, that kind of sucks. But let's plow through. And then to get murdered by what felt like terrible, terrible hitbox detection. Like, you very clearly, visibly dive out of the way of an attack, and it can still hit you sometimes. And you're just like, oh, come on. And it's just that level of, again, I mentioned this last time, but the level of polish that the combat desperately needed from the first game just, yeah, it's still not there, and it still kind of hurts. Although I did kind of stumble upon the things that I thought weren't in this game. Like I found like a trap cave. Now I've seen quite a few of those now, and it's like having got all the way in last week's discussion about it. Like I hadn't seen any of them, and they were all over the first game. One of the first things I did in the first game was go to a trap cave and get some loot, and it's like now I've stumbled upon tons of them. Like weirdly, I didn't see any until the mid portion of this game, and now I'm seeing quite a few of them. And they're actually kind of okay because they don't feel particularly cheap. There's a little bit of camera trouble, I think, with them, and I can't quite angle the camera in the way so I can see what I want to see sometimes. Like I'll dive through one thing into another that I couldn't see because it was off screen. Especially if you're coming towards the camera. But and it also wants to have the camera at quite a low angle, so you can't raise it above yourself particularly high. See if you want to get a nice view of what's around you. So yeah, that's they're a little problematic, but they are improved from the first game for sure. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Some of the. I think I missed the purity a little bit of the first game for sure. May have tried too hard, but in the wrong direction. Let's go with that.
Damn it! Come on, guys.
Yeah. Of course, the only other thing I've been playing is Forza Horizon 3.
How's that going? And now that, given that it's the same as Forza Horizon 2,
I think I got over the hump that I was having last time. Like in the
okay.
So I think that game performs. I think I just made perhaps a bad call going to Surfers Paradise, like the street racing-y or the more built-up town. On the map. It's not where that game shines. No, it really isn't. It's like there's. I think I just had a bad selection of cars, and the track, the road layout just isn't very interesting around there. The game shines when you're doing off-road stuff, and you're very specifically going out of your way to drive like off-road cars, and do those sort of like high, massive, lots of jumps, lots of mashing through stuff, lots of cutting corners and finding lines and that kind of stuff. That is where this game excels, and that I have way more fun doing that stuff, and I've been doing a lot of that side of things.
Sweet.
Yeah, basically never really touching a proper car, hardly. Just going in buggies and big ass jeeps and.
Cool. Bit different to your average Forza experience.
Yeah, I've been kind of enjoying that side of it, and some of the irritating. Why can't I say that word? Some of the more irritating stuff that I described last time as well, like the annoying voiceover people and the ads and some of the stuff that was a little bit more intrusive into the experience. That all seems to be dying away slowly.
Okay.
Like when I'm winning races, I'm now very rarely getting Kira or whatever his name come in and is like, you should stop winning. People are getting jealous and ha ha ha. You're such a cock for being the owner of this festival. Blah. Like none of that is really
impinging on things.
No, or you're not really hearing it as often.
Right.
Which is a godsend. It's way better with less of it.
I wonder if that whole presentation will just die a death. That style.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
Because that game is so slickly put together that there's something about that attitude just doesn't fit, or maybe I'd want to change somehow, or I don't know. I don't quite know how I would do it differently. Is the thing, like other than just it not being there. But then does the game feel even more soulless as a result? I'm just not quite sure. Perhaps there is a balance there, but you just need to find the right attitude for the voiceovers or something like that. Maybe it is just an attitude thing and I just don't like what they're doing.
Well, they could avoid the whole video game protagonist problem of you being the one person winning all these races.
Well, I mean, actually, that's one of this game's great things. You don't have to win the exhibition races.
Well, I don't mean...
You can just, it will, if you come, last in them, it will still say, that's fine, you did that. You can move on. And it's like, that's great.
As doing them. Because they could have had an easy way around that for this game. Just make it so every time you change car, you're changing to a different person.
I suppose, yeah. What, do a Call of Duty multi-person story on it or something?
Well, you wouldn't even have to have a story. It would just be the voiceovers at the end of the race could just be oh, you did well that time, random person from nowhere.
Soap and McTavish go to Australia.
Or you do it like fucking Battlefield 2 on the consoles where you just into the different car.
Yeah, I do. Actually, that would be really cool if they had done that. Because there is one thing that does bug me, and they're like, when you do a championship, you still have to drive between each race starting point.
Right.
And I would really like to not have the option.
That sounds kind of annoying.
Yeah, can I just go to the next race, please, rather than having to drive to the next race? And pretty much every route every track you discover in the game, I think is a starting point for a different championship. So there are and I've barely scratched the surface on the championship side, but that means there's a lot of championships and a lot of racing you could do here. Again, I don't think that's any different from Forza Horizon 2, but when it starts to sink in, just how many icons you've got on the map and how many of those are the start of championships, and how much driving you're going to have to be doing, it's oh, but if I really want to just do the racing, I now have to do all the stuff. Oh. There's going to come a point where that just becomes tedious. I'm not there yet, but there will come a point like the last game where I'm just going to stop, and it's going to be there's too much. There's too much. Kudos, but too much. It's also crazy achievements in the game, I think. I was looking at some of the list, and it's there is an achievement, I think, for doing a championship with every track in the game in a single run. And it's just that's enormous. That's mental.
In one run?
Well, not in a single championship with just every course in it.
Right.
And it's in a game like this, it's that's a lot of courses.
Yeah.
The achievements are skewed a little bit towards the super hardcore, shall we say? Some of them. It's neat that it's there, but I'm at my progress meter, towards the actual sort of end of the game. It does give you a percentage of how far you are towards what it calls the final showcase, which I think is what 2 did as well.
Oh, cool.
I'm still only at 40% or something.
Respectable, but
yeah, I've maxed out 2 of the venues and all of in terms of the icons it will put on the map, and I've still got a couple of them that I've barely touched. But there's 4 different hotspots around the map, and I still think some of my original complaints still stand though. I'm not 100% sure that this map is as nice as Europe.
As the Europe one.
Yeah, I mean it's got some they can do some different things. Like it has got the jungle, it has got more deserty areas that Europe didn't have, but then I don't feel like I've got the nice sweeping mountains or the nice vistas over wine fields or things like that, like or heather or whatever it was that was like purple on the horizon and things like that. It's just it's not quite as an appealing a map to me. But so yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna plow through. I do wish I could make the drone fly higher, because that can only fly like slightly higher than a pickup truck.
Oh, really?
For some reason, I'm assuming it's a limitation of the engine, because you never see a large sweeping vista from high above the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In
yeah.
Australia, where it's well flat.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's an engine limitation going on there, because you just can't do it anywhere, and none of the cutscenes do it ever. It's always looking up. It's like it's always from man height.
To see the sky, right?
Which I guess might be an interesting style choice. I guess if you're like, maybe that's on purpose. Maybe it's not a limitation, but like that you're always seeing stuff from a personal perspective. But I don't know. There are times where I just want to see this world.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you want
it
to
some fun stuff.
Pull out and show you a vista or two.
It was a really dumb moment, actually, where it's like it was nothing to do really with the playing the game per se, but I was in drone mode, just flying around trying to find a barn find, and there were a couple of driver tars just sort of racing each other around where I was scanning. So I just spent a while flying the drone watching them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was way more satisfying than I expected. Just watching these two driver tars like have it out, and it sort of gave me a moment to sort of step back and go, all right, if I was to actually just look at this game for a second, look at the detail on these cars and how good the driving model is from like just looking at it from an outside perspective rather than trying to play it.
Yeah, wrestling with it. Yeah.
Oh, it was it's just a strange moment, like a sort of a okay, wow. This thing.
Yeah.
just look at these two guys going at it. Like, it also made me wonder, like could that maybe there should have been a bit more of seeing things from that perspective, because it looks really cool. Like just flying a drone around this car battle going on. It looked pretty cool. But I don't quite know how you make a mechanic out of that, but it looked neat. Yeah, that game's alright. I think I may have knocked it a little too hard last time. Yeah,
once you get into the bush, as it were.
Yeah, I feel way more positive now than I did before, and I haven't even touched the Hot Wheels stuff. And I reckon that would be a whole another level of entertainment, because I've seen some clips from Kippers playing it, and the size of the jumps and stuff. It looks cool.
I've forgotten about that Hot Wheels thing. That just comes with it right now.
It's a DLC pack.
Yeah, DLC.
It's like the second DLC. I got it in a sort of like a bundle over
I remember.
Over the sale period. So they were putting that, and I was tempted to perhaps pick up the one with Blizzard Mountain in it as well, which like adds snowy stuff to it, which again would be a nice change of pace. But I sort of second guessed it, thinking like, that game's enormous. I probably don't need that much more content, but oh my god, look at the Hot Wheels tracks. Bright orange plastic doing loop-the-loops around dinosaurs.
Of course.
It's gonna kick ass.
Standard Hot Wheels.
And that's me. Yeah, keep it simple this week. Not a lot to say.
Cool. Well, we're nearly there then. Yeah, it's a pretty good game. I think we discussed this last time. I'm carrying on. I've done the Ilium stuff. That was pretty good. The Justicar lady. That was actually better than I remember. And the Assassin.
Is that where you're seeing their equivalent of the Fallen or something like that? You know, the Asari that have gone bad. Or is that where you meet the Justicar?
That's where you meet the Justicar. So the Justicar's like the weird Jedi type, sort of.
Yeah.
Like where they're like...
The Fallen is later, because it's
Bathsheba or something, or whatever they called them.
It's her one of her daughters is the bad.
That's right.
And then you can choose whether to have the just girl or have the evil woman on your team. For a real bad idea.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize that was the choice. Well, I didn't remember that was the choice.
Yeah.
What would it be like having the other person?
I don't know.
I didn't do that. I kept Justica.
But... I think even in a Renegade one, I wouldn't do that because it just seems like a real bad idea in general. Especially how they describe all the evil shit that how will be evil Asari get incredibly evil.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd really want that person, even if you thought it was a good idea for a moment. Probably not.
So I think I only played Mass Effect 2 Renegade, and I still made that Justica call. I'd forgotten that was a choice. In fairness,
I'm a Renegade.
Yeah, that's her loyalty mission, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've only just recruited her, but I did the the other loyalty mission for what's her face, the main lady.
For what's her face?
Yvonne Strahovski, whatever her name is. That woman.
One less lady.
Yeah,
one less woman. Yeah, main.
What's her name? Miranda.
Miranda, that's right. Yeah. And the Justicar, I've just realised that Justicars are like a cross between Jedi and like Judge Dredd. They're quite a lot like Judge Dredd. Yeah. They are the law. Which
you
is
have been
cool.
judged.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Sentenced right here.
I definitely, like I said last time, but it's like I like this one because it's the most sort of Star Trek-y because it's like they're like individual like weird little episodes rather than and it does have an overarching thing, kind of like the Borg or whatever, but it's not like constant war or whatever like the third one.
And
it's a bit more serviceable. Although it is the shooting is like not amazing. It's fine, and there's quite a lot of it. So I don't know.
How are you playing on PC? Are you keyboard mouse or have you got full controller?
Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, I would have played controller. I think I probably.
But it doesn't have. Oh yeah, I remember you saying
it doesn't work. It doesn't have controller, and also you have to like fiddle around with INI files to get the mouse stuff working nicely. I think it has an FOV problem out of the box, and like a mouse sensitivity being like way too high. I think I can't remember what I solved, but anyway, I solved it. Just about. It's definitely pretty nice and playable now. But yeah, I think I'd rather use a gamepad, but it's totally fine with mouse and keyboard. It's a fairly cover shootery thing. Yeah, but it's a bit of a pain. I'm playing the Steam version, by the way.
Sure. Not the
obviously,
Origin.
it's like mostly on Origin. Quite crack. And yeah, having fun. Kind of want to go back to it, although it is kind of a waste of time doing as we discussed, planet scanning, but you don't have to do that much of it, really.
I forget how much you need, but yeah, I think I ended up sort of just mining that galaxy dry.
Yeah, I don't think you need to do that, but anyway, it helps. Oh, one thing is, so now I've gone to like Tachanka, or the Krogan homeworld.
Yeah,
and just because I started a new game from scratch, like Rex is, spoiler alert, Rex is dead. Which is weird. Because I didn't have the chance to save Rex, or it assumes you killed Rex.
That was one of the choices in the like pre-game or something. Or...
So it's in. No, you don't get to choose that. Like it didn't ask you. It asks you like.
It asks you about Caden and Ashley, doesn't it?
Yeah, Caden versus Ashley, I think. Which is, or does it even?
Yeah, it does. I'm pretty sure it asks you that one.
Right. I don't know.
You played more on PC, right? So you probably just shifted your save to that.
Yeah, but still asks you. Yeah. It still asks you during that sequence because it's like we're checking your memory.
Yeah. That's
like
right.
Wrong. You're being just like, no, that's not right.
Oh, really? Yeah. So you see that anyway?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a bit weird. I've never seen the dialogue of like the guy who's like the Rex replacement.
The Rex replacement. Yeah, no, I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. So yeah, maybe I screwed up the thing at the beginning.
Well, yeah, but in some ways it's neat that you're getting a different perspective.
Yeah, like, that's true. It's not that different, but it's kind of a bit weird.
Yeah. Not how you remember it.
No, exactly.
I find that fascinating, actually. That's probably kind of cool.
Yeah, that's
where
cool
that
stuff.
Happens.
Yeah, the fact that that's happening, Like, obviously, even in the second game, let alone the third game of the series, where you're like, wait, well, all the stuff from the first game, it's not just like the Rachni Queen or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a whole bunch of stuff. So it's kind of cool. Yeah. And then I just played a bit. I switched the cartridges out and put Zelda back in for a bit. So I'd just be doing some side quests on that prior to getting the DLC. So
you are going to go in for the DLC?
I expect so. Although I hear it's not amazing or anything, but I think I might as well give it a go.
It's just more.
Yeah, a bit more stuff so I'll check that out. Cool. And that's me, and that's us.
Oh my God, I think that is us.
For the
Good to
Saladcast.
Zach for playing the first 2018 game.
Yeah.
Saladcast.
We'll see what the next one is.
While the rest of us go back in time. I've been thinking a lot about like what old game to cover, because this is the season for me for playing old stuff. Generally.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
I always do it this time of year, and it's like, do I go? But I actually thought, it's a toss up. Maybe because I'm somewhat excited for Final Fantasy 15's PC release when that comes out. I do really want to play that. Maybe this is the time to get 13.3 out of the way.
Oh God!
And then get Lightning Returns done.
Oh God! I forgot about that game.
Yeah.
Stephen did the website for that game, or
Did he?
I think so.
Huh.
Yeah, probably still.
Yeah, so there's that, or maybe in the wake of Game Pass, because what we were talking about earlier, I have got a copy of Recall, which is available on Game Pass, the definitive edition. But just get on with playing that. Which in theory, I've got the original disc version, which should upgrade to definitive.
Yes, you'd hope.
Yeah, so maybe that game's good now. I don't know.
Or better.
Yeah.
It's probably not 100% good.
No, it's probably not 100%.
It's probably not 100% game.
Yeah, it's not 100% a game. Actually, is that true of any game that's got a cutscene in it? Is it then no longer 100% a game?
That's part of games.
Yeah, I guess it is now. Hideo Kojima games. No, those are not 100% a game.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, but you get a whole lot of 80% of game.
You get
100% madness.
Yeah, that's true. Oh man, cool. Right, yeah. Stay tuned to our YouTube channel as well for some more crap coming your way.
Dust went up last week.
Yeah,
might find some videos that are a bit garg.
Yeah, a little bit garg.
Check out the garg videos. Yeah,
Dyad is next.
Yeah, that was also quite garg, but for different reasons.
That is. I mean, I got a headache editing that thing. So enjoy that.
Enjoy the garg, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks for another Saladcast.
Yeah.
Bye.
Remember to press stop.